Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Motorsports on our dedicated Motorsports channel. You're joined by myself, Mark, and of course, Reese. We've just finished the last practice session here in Zandvoort, a wet session it was, and we saw some very, very interesting times getting put in by all of the drivers in that session there. McLaren doing very well throughout the entire session, but Verstappen at the end of it eventually going and doing very well and doing what he does best and topping those time charts there. So it looks like a very interesting qualifying session later because all the drivers were really vying for position right near the end there. Of course, it was an evolving track, but we saw the likes of Liam Lawson, of course, come in for the first time, replacing Ricardo, of course, after his broken hand yesterday. So he went out there for the first time. We saw three red flags, two drivers, unfortunately, unable to continue the session, though. So we've had a red flag in every single session. I'm sure we're probably going to see a red flag in qualifying later. But Reese, how was that session?
Yes, it was a very interesting session. As you said, it was interrupted twice by red flags. We had the first incident was Kevin Magnussen. He lost it in turn 3, broke his front left suspension. And then we had Zhou Guanyu a bit later in turn 13. He went a little bit wide, was spun out into the gravel trap and just beached himself there. And then he had to be recovered by the crane. And that caused that second red flag. It was a very interesting session there with, in the beginning, not a lot of running for half of the grid, really, because I mean, the rain was quite torrential. Some people decided not really to take the risk. Max Verstappen was the first driver out on track, though. Not something we often say, though, in the rain. He has just been on form the entire session with the fastest lap time, as you say, being set by Max Verstappen, a 1:21.6. The closest time to him was by George Russell in the Mercedes with a 1:22.010. Great to see some lap times being brought in now by George Russell, finally getting to grips possibly with his Mercedes Challenger. Sergio Perez then in third place, not too far behind George Russell. Actually, I say that, he was quite far behind George Russell.
Yeah.
0.6 seconds.
Indeed, and what I was also going to notice, from third place to seventh place, we've got almost no difference between all those drivers there. For Perez, a 1:22.6, Alonso, a 1:22.6, Hamilton, a 1:22.7, Albon, a 1:22.7, and Piastri, a 1:22.8. So great driving from those drivers behind there, though not as quick as Russell and Verstappen. So Russell just a little level above the rest, obviously with the exception of Max Verstappen, who we know is always going to generally top the charts there. Liam Lawson, of course, did cause a red flag, though he didn't actually end the session there.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yes,
red flag.
So he did have a bit of a spin there in the second to last corner and just had to dive off. Quite a lot of drivers as well, just watching some replays of it as well, did have big lockups into turn 1. Lots of drivers. I think there was at least 6 drivers that did it. I can name Sainz, Leclerc, Ocon, Alonso.
Twice.
I think Perez did it as well. And I mean, yeah, so lots of drivers had issues with it. Just watching replays of all the drivers having that issue.
Alonso, yeah. So, I mean, it just shows it's very tricky out there on track in these wet conditions, especially when they were running on their intermediate tires. They had massive lockups. We were watching Esteban Ocon doing that. He unfortunately hit the wall quite hard. Luckily, didn't cause any damage to his car, but did cause a little bit of damage to the barriers. And then just watching Carlos Sainz have that moment, Charles Leclerc have that moment. Yeah, lots of drivers all getting stuck in that first corner, just completely locking up their brakes and kind of just taking a ride into the barriers there.
Indeed, exactly that. And we've got a whole lot of people joining us now in the comments. Great to see you guys all here joining us on our Forever Motorsports channel. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video.
We have hit, I can happily say now, we have hit 200 subscribers. So thank you very much for all of you who have subscribed. Once I do get all of those notifications of your names, we will read them all out in the qualifying session later on.
100%. So let's just go through those bottom 10 and top 10 there. So just confirm, Magnussen and Zhou right at the bottom there. Liam Lawson not doing particularly well, though he wasn't wet the entire time. It did actually go out and into, what am I talking about? All the way down at 18th. Not the greatest start for him. Stroll, also very poor, down at 17th. Ocon, 16th. Hulkenberg, 15. Sargent, 14. Sonoda, 13. Sainz in 12th. Gasly in 11th. And Norris, after doing so well, only finished up in 10th position. We go to the top 10, of course, with Norris in 10. Leclerc in 9. Bottas in 8. Piastri 7. Albon 6. Hamilton 5. Alonso 4. Perez in 3rd. Russell in 2nd. And Verstappen topping the charts there. Very, very interesting qualifying coming up for us, Reese.
Yes, I think we didn't necessarily see the full potential of the McLarens near the end there, but I think I'm going to be watching them quite closely in this qualifying session come this afternoon. It's in 2 hours and 20 minutes from now, so not too long to get going for qualifying. I'm really, really excited. I think it's going to be super, super exciting for all of us. especially if the rain does come back and provide some more action out on track. We could get a few more red flags, though, once the drivers really start to push their cars to the limit.
And Techers is exactly starting my little end-off show here for the review of that session. And we're going to go and based off of that session and the previous sessions, we're going to go and say what are our picks for Q3. Now, he's actually asked for the ones after Max, because he predicts Max will be first, of course. But let's go to the top 4 then. Do you think Max will finish on top?
Yes, I think Max is going to finish on top. It's his home crowd. He's just performing on another level this season. He loves this track. I'm going to say Max Verstappen P1. I really want to be bold. Oscar Piastri P2. Lando Norris P3. Fernando Alonso P4.
I love that prediction. I was going to go for something. I was going to go for something very, very similar. I'm going to go Max Verstappen 1. I'm going to say Norris 2. I'm going to say Russell 3. I'm going to say Alonso 4. I think that's going to be my bold prediction as well.
Okay. Yeah, lots of bold predictions for today. But I think it's going to be a very exciting session ahead of us. Let us know your bold predictions for this next session. Well, we've got some bold predictions for the top 4. Who is going to be your unlucky driver of the session?
Liam Lawson.
Well, this guy's good. He's a rookie. It's his first time in the car. Let's not put him in. Yeah, I'm going to say Stroll as well.
I think Stroll's going to do rather poorly later on. He didn't have a very good session today. Didn't have very good sessions yesterday either. So I think Stroll will probably be the unlucky driver of the day. Although Haas have caused quite a few crashes already so far this weekend. So maybe we'll keep an eye on Haas. But guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back later live, of course, for qualifying. Be sure to stick around on the channel. We're going to have our build-up package running as well as the F2 Sprint. So be sure to stick around for that. And if you guys are new again, subscribe to this channel, like this video right now. Go smash that like button. Me and Reese will, of course, join you later for qualifying. We'll be live just before that. And until then, guys, thank you very much for watching. Again, subscribe. We'll see you later. Cheerio. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Motorsports for this, the fan forum and the preview for the Dutch Grand Prix. This weekend, we've had city season over. Not that it was particularly city this year, but our weeks of breaks from Formula One, I'm sure Ferrari fans are very grateful for the 3-week period in which they weren't crying every second weekend in their lives. And Dutch fans otherwise are very, very happy to be back, of course. It's returning at home in Zandvoort for Max Verstappen, who's been dominating the entire season. And for today's fan forum, we're joined by Reese, of course, stalwart and main man on the channel. And we've got two Ferrari fans in Jono and Kyle joining us as well. So welcome to them. And Reese, if you just want to go over what we're going to be talking about in today's fan forum.
Yes, so we've got a few articles here, and then we'll kind of see where it goes after that. But just talking a little bit about Lewis Hamilton warning the rest of all the Formula One fans, really, that Red Bull could carry on with their momentum throughout the rest of the season undefeated, as well as a little bit of a look into the aero upgrades being brought in Zandvoort, as well as finally a rookie driver being brought in to replace Carlos Sainz for the Dutch Grand Prix FP1 session.
Indeed. And just before we do head on into the questions and otherwise, and some discussions about Formula One so far this year and what we're going to look forward to this weekend as well, let's just give you some stats about the Grand Prix that we are about to go into. So, of course, we are here in the Dutch Grand Prix Circuit Zandvoort. Circuit Zandvoort was first opened in the 7th of August, 1948. So 75 years ago. It's the 75th anniversary this year. It is currently hosting Formula One, the GT World Challenge Europe, DTM, and all other major races as well. The track length is 4.25 kilometers. There are 14 turns, and the race lap record is held by none other than Lewis Hamilton in the W12 in 2021, not so long ago, of course, in that rather famous season, getting beaten out by Max Verstappen right at the end in very controversial circumstances. But we are, of course, in Zandvoort, and it's going to be a fantastic track. It's one of the only tracks left with the banked turns, and I think that's certainly going to play a part in this weekend. So, Jono, Kyle, you guys are both Ferrari fans. Just firstly, what are we going to expect from Charles Leclerc, who's arrived with a little bit of sickness with regards to his ear pressure, from right, Reese? So he's had to drive to Zandvoort rather than fly, as most of the drivers would have. But what do we think Charles Leclerc and Sainz will do? Kyle, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be easy for him to perform at the level you'd expect with ear issues. You know, affects your balance, terribly unpleasant, I'm sure, with a helmet on. And with those G-forces that your head goes, it's probably going to be hell for him, you know. From that perspective, I'm worried because Charles Leclerc, while I'm sure is an absolute fighter, and he'll be a professional about his work and give it everything. Lately, he seems not to be a very happy man, and his performances have not been as good due to that. I feel he's feels like one thing after another just keeps knocking him down. And I worry that this is another thing. Just after this break, he'd want a fresh start, and then, well, no fresh start. There's a setback already. I worry about the mental side of it, along with the physical. Especially when you're not confident in your team. It's so much change already. Your teammate there. I don't know how much he bounces off with Carlos, but in general, but I do feel it's just another added variable. So, look, just as a Ferrari fan, to be honest, more room for error. More like, it's too eventful, guys.
Yeah, indeed, it is 100%. So obviously his teammate Carlos Sainz will be missing free practice 1, and Jono, Robert Schwartzman will be taking his place, as is the rule for F1 teams. They have to make a rookie driver perform in one of the sessions during each season. So Robert Schwartzman will be taking place of Carlos Sainz in FP1. Firstly, I don't think it's going to make too much of an effect for Carlos Sainz, but Carlos Sainz so far going into this weekend, what are you going to expect from him? And we wait. Not sure if John has managed to hear the question, but we'll just wait for that to get back. But Reese, I suppose I'll just chuck the question across to you then. What are we going to expect from Carlos Sainz potentially this weekend?
Well, I think Ferrari are certainly going to want to come back off of the summer break and get a good performance in after. I can't remember how they performed in Belgium, but I think that probably means it wasn't particularly spectacular.
And with Carlos, more so this year than last year. So it's been impressive to see him really going.
Oh, sorry about that. We're just gonna mute. Oh, I didn't mean to remove. I don't think I'd removed. I think he's automatically been removed. No, not a problem. We're going to carry on. Reece, you were saying, sorry.
Yes, I think off the back of the Belgium Grand Prix, they'll be wanting to have another good race weekend. So I think they might have some upgrades here this race weekend. They might not. We'll have a look in the article a little bit later. But I mean, the other teams seem to be really stepping it up in terms of the pace. So Carlos Sainz will be wanting to do as well as he can as well. There's a lot of teams looking towards him for the next few years with this contract silly season up at the moment. He's been one of the big drivers speculated to go to Audi. So he's going to be wanting to carry on having a good set of race weekends in a row. So yeah, hopefully he'll have another good race weekend. I don't know if he'll have the pace to maybe get on the podium, but maybe a 4th or a 5th place.
Okay, 4th or 5th. I mean, Carl, would you be happy with that? You're not unmuted yourself there, Carl, unfortunately. So
sorry, Jess, my bad. We're not doing well with technology. Guys, I had a bachelor party last night on a Wednesday night. Can you believe it? So
no.
Apologies if my brain isn't quite with me. But yeah, I feel I'd be content with 4th and 5th just because I feel that should be the minimum requirement from Ferrari as a team. They should feel like anything less is a problem. So I'll use the word content, but I feel that if Ferrari do not at least achieve one driver on a podium per race week, you must feel that that's a failure. You have to be targeting that podium, especially when your numbers suggest that you're the second best team, the second best car with capable drivers. You need to at least have one driver on that podium. But the way things have been going, I'll take 4th and 5th.
John, you're back. I can see that. So
Yes,
would you agree with Carl?
What was the last thing you heard?
No, we're just saying. So Carlos Sainz, Reece was predicting, a 4th and 5th finish for Ferrari this weekend. So Carl's saying, any race not finishing on a podium for Ferrari is a bit of a failure. But would you agree?
To a certain extent, yes.
He's tried again and it's gone again. So no, what's happening that side there? But we're going to have to unfortunately just move on from there. We'll get Jono back, I'm sure. His device is not connected currently. Oh wait, he's coming back. Maybe you can continue. Let's just see. 3, 2, 1. Maybe not. Reece, I'll tell you what. We'll just move on from the topic whilst Jono just gets sorted that side there, and we'll move on to the next piece of news. And we will come back to Jono, of course. We will give him a chance, but he's just struggling a little bit, much like Ferrari this week, this season. So I suppose it's very apt for him to be disconnecting. It's a bit like Charles Leclerc crashing out and Carlos Sainz crashing out. It's the same as Jono. He has just had to do the same thing. So we talk about Lewis Hamilton apparently now, Reece. You've got information about that.
Yes, I have an article with a quote from Lewis Hamilton just talking about the chance of Max Verstappen winning every race this season. I mean, the quote here says, "There's a high chance that he will win every race, but we're hopeful that we can challenge them at some point, whether it's this weekend or who knows where. If there are any mistakes, any mishaps, we'll be right there to try and capitalize on them." And I mean, that's quite unfortunate. And that's really the prediction for the rest of the season, not only from my side, but I think everyone watching, really. We've seen the absolute pace that Max Verstappen and Red Bull have, and it just does not look like any of the other teams are able to get anywhere close. I mean, the McLarens are certainly making some big advantages and big gains in terms of their pace, but it's still Red Bull's game at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly quite an unfortunate season in the fact that Max Verstappen has gone way out ahead of the rest of the drivers. But at the same time, we've had this discussion many times, of course, with regards to whether or not it's Red Bull doing really well or if it's Max Verstappen. Now, if you look at the points, as Lewis Hamilton says there, and you talk about, he's aiming to try and finish up in a runners-up spot, which means that he'd be finishing ahead of Sergio Perez, who is Max's teammate. Now, everyone keeps talking about the fact that Red Bull is exceptionally good at the moment, and that's the reason why it's just pointless for the rest of the teams. But yet, Sergio Perez has not been doing as well. So, I mean, is it just Max Verstappen that much better than the rest of the field, or is it that Red Bull is just certainly good enough and Max Verstappen is a better driver than Sergio Perez, making sure that he makes use of that? I think Jono is properly back, so we'll ask Jono that question.
There we go. I'm unmuted. Okay. Yes, I am properly back. Sorry, our Wi-Fi dropped out.
No
That is an awesome question, and I have two ways to answer it. Firstly, the thing that I think people should acknowledge is that Max Verstappen has been at Red Bull since 2016, which is now what, his 9th season? No, sorry, my maths is horrible. 7th season with Red Bull. And so, as him being the only one who's been consistently at that team for that long, the car is being built around the feedback that he has for the team, if you know what I mean, over the last few years. Even coming into the new aerodynamic change, they weren't 100% certain that Sergio Perez would be there for that long. So why would they invest time and energy into putting the car towards his liking when they know they can make a car for Max where he will win world championships? But at the same time as saying that, Max is just on a level that no one else can touch at the moment. We can't deny it, and it's been awesome to see him get to the point that he is over the years. But to answer the question from the other side, Adrian Newey literally wrote the book on ground effect aerodynamics. Like, the people who built the other cars read the books that he wrote. He wrote his thesis for his PhD in ground effect cars. And so it was no surprise to me that Red Bull would be the ones to dominate this season. I did think that Mercedes and Ferrari would be closer, to be honest, especially coming into the beginning of this season. But Adrian Newey's too good at his job and Max is too good at his job, and there's nothing anyone can do about that at the moment.
Reese, would you agree with
I
that?
actually read a really, just touching on Adrian Newey, I read a really interesting story the other day that in the lead up to the 2026 regulations, he actually didn't spend, as much time as you would think he would in the aerodynamic department. He actually spent a lot of time in the suspension department, which has certainly been one of the biggest problems and biggest problematic areas for all of the teams with these ground effect cars. So, I mean, as you say, he knows what ground effect has and what it entails, and he knew exactly where he really needs to focus his energy for these new regulations. And I think that's really why Red Bull have gotten it spot on from the beginning. They didn't have the issues with the porpoising like the other teams did. And I think that's really allowed them to develop the car in a way that they are now leagues ahead of everyone else.
So, leading on from that, then, Kyle, we were discussing the fact that Red Bull. Then, we were saying Red Bull have been incredible. Of course, Adrian Newey's there. That car is performing very, very well. As Jono also said and brought up the fact that they built that car mainly around Max Verstappen. Now, is that to the detriment of Sergio Perez, or do you think a different driver in his chair, or seat rather, would perform better and would be a more consistent driver for Red Bull? And I hint, nudge, nudge, one who turned down the offer of going to Red Bull being that of the McLaren driver, Lando Norris.
Yeah, I think while I do like Checo as a driver and as a personality and the fight that he has, I feel he's in the point of his career where he's probably very set in his ways, and to adapt is going to be difficult. Whereas a younger driver, there's more room to learn, to adapt to different cars, different styles of driving, making the best of it with a different team. And then you throw a name in like Lando Norris, who's been one of the most consistent drivers on the grid for quite a few years now, really establishing himself as a very consistent performer. I mean, he's known for getting, in seasons past, being fourth, fifth, all the time, consistently in the points. He already brings consistency at a young age, while having the advantage of being young enough to learn things. I think it is a bit of a case with Checo of an old dog in new tricks. It's a bit tougher there. And I also think Lando is a superb driver, and we could argue certainly at this stage in the two drivers' careers that we're comparing, that Lando is a better driver. From that perspective, I do think both Lando and Red Bull would be better off had that happened.
Yeah. Okay, that's very interesting. I'll tell you what, it's an interesting one because Lando Norris essentially turned it down. Red Bull wanted him. So Lando Norris turned them down at the time, and backed the idea of staying at McLaren. And again, he backed the idea of staying at McLaren. Throughout the next few seasons, he's been talked about with other teams. He's one of certainly the hot topics on the grid. Now, everyone thought that he was going to definitely move on from McLaren based on the start of their season, but they significantly improved in the last 5 or 4 races before the break now. So going into this weekend and also going to the rest of the weekend, I'm going to phrase this question to Reese first, and then we'll go on to Jono as well, is where do we feel McLaren will finish up at the end of the season?
That's a great question. I think they are certainly picking up the pace. They're currently challenging with, I think it's Ferrari in terms of points, if I'm not correct. I'll double check that. But I think they are really starting to find a lot more pace and are really getting to grips with their car. They have new upgrades for this race weekend. We didn't think they would be bringing, but they have brought some more tweaks. We've seen the aero rakes already fitted onto the cars for pre-practice tomorrow morning. And I think they might even find some more gains this race weekend. Certainly, we hope they will, because we want to see them getting closer to those Red Bulls. And I think Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri are a great driver pairing at the moment, both really hungry for points and podiums. And I think if they're given the opportunity every race weekend, they'll get there.
Jono, would you say McLaren are going to take Ferrari by the end of the season? Because I mean, they are quite close. I'm looking at McLaren 103, Ferrari 191. Now, it doesn't sound as close, but when you think about the fact that McLaren gained almost 90 of those points in the last 4 races or 5 races before the break, that's the incredible part. So, does McLaren finish ahead of Ferrari?
I would actually predict yes, that McLaren will finish ahead of Ferrari before the end of this year, purely because of the fact that I think they've been more consistent in their strategy calls. They're just more cohesive at their as a team at the moment. Ferrari, I think, are just a little bit lost, which is why they've been slightly underwhelming. But also considering how many times they've changed their team principal in the last 4 seasons, you wouldn't expect anything less. Looking at the likes of Christian Horner at Red Bull, Toto Wolff at Mercedes, they've been there for so long. And so whether or not they're doing well in the championships, there's still a cohesiveness within the team that they can maximize the performance of the car, regardless of where they are in the pecking order. And I don't think Ferrari are doing that at the moment, which is why McLaren will, I think, finish ahead of them in the constructors. I do, though, think that Mercedes will hold on to P2 in the constructors in terms of their consistency. And also, I think it's going to take a few races for all the teams, McLaren included, to get a full understanding of all the upgrades that they've been doing over the last few races, because all the teams have been quite aggressive in bringing all of these upgrades, and with all the sprint races as well, have had minimal time to actually fully understand what those upgrades have done to their car, which is why I think Mercedes are struggling with their porpoising again, because they don't know what they brought back to have now got the porpoising issue again. But yeah.
Carl, I noticed the fact that you were quite a little bit shocked by the fact that Jono is definitely predicting pretty much McLaren to finish ahead of Ferrari. I mean, are you disagreeing, or do you just think that that's just the state that Ferrari's in?
Hey, look, I think it's harsh. I think it's a big call at this stage to confidently say so. I think McLaren are going to push Ferrari, and I think it's all up to how Ferrari responds. But beyond that, I genuinely think it's Ferrari against themselves. I think if Ferrari do the basics, they will finish second. If they just get the basics right, they will finish second, because the car is the second best car. If they sort out the nonsense and they just achieve that, if they're taking 3 and 4, 2 and 4, 2 and 3 if Checo, screws up, yeah, I think they'll take second because they have the better car. And they have 2 very, very good drivers. However, do I think Ferrari are going to consistently do the basics till the end of the season? I do not. So therefore, I think it's a case of Ferrari against themselves. If they just do what they should, they will be second. If they don't, they could end up behind McLaren. And I am very curious to see where Aston Martin fits in all of this, because if they don't pull up their socks and get onto the upgrade train that everyone else has, they could finish fifth, and maybe McLaren could finish second. I think it's going to be an exciting second half because of all these possible permutations.
Well, just to answer your question there, Kyle, immediately, McLaren have upgrades this weekend. So do Aston Martin. They have got a big upgrade package, thankfully, for this weekend. We hope to see them maybe picking it up by a few tenths a lap, because, I mean, they've really been falling off. But going back to the Ferrari topic, I have some news, and I know as a big Ferrari fan, this may break your heart, because once again, Ferrari have abandoned another season and have already stopped developing their car for 2023. They've got a set of upgrades already planned for the rest of the year, but they're not doing any more upgrades in the aero tunnel. They're not doing any more testing. So it's going to be difficult with a aggressively upgrading McLaren. So it's going to be a difficult end to the season for them if they want to still challenge for that fourth position, or even try challenge higher.
And also on that, the interesting thing there is also the fact that, Kyle said quite confidently it's the second best car on the grid. Now, I just certainly don't think there's a dispute in that fact when it comes to qualifying. I think qualifying-wise, Ferrari have always been right there and thereabouts with Red Bull every single qualifying session. Don't get me wrong, Mercedes every now and then, but most of the time it's Ferrari that's challenging it out with Red Bull for qualifying. But when it comes to race pace, not at all. It's a weird thing, but do you genuinely think the Ferraris got better race pace than the Mercs?
Look, I think when you look at the data analysis before the Sunday starts, the data consistently has suggested that Ferrari is the second best car on the grid. Ferrari are not able to turn that data into results on the day, whether it comes down to the strategy around tires, around track position. Ferrari seems to not maximize the potential in the car, and that is what is affecting the actual pace of the car. When you should be on the right tire at the right time, you can lose all the advantage that the aerodynamics and engine, for example, the car should bring. And soon you find yourself limited to doing damage control and trying to just make sure that you get through the race with all four tires, having enough grip.
So just to bounce off of your comments there, being the second fastest car on the grid doesn't necessarily mean you have the second best car on the grid. I'll agree wholeheartedly that I think Ferrari are the second quickest around one lap. But in terms of their race pace, in terms of their tire degradation, and in terms of their ECU output as well, you see later in the race, both Carlos and Charles can't really maximize their energy because their batteries are, not recharging in the same way or as efficiently, let's say, as the Red Bulls and the Mercs. For me, I think Ferrari and Mercedes have switched places this season compared to last season, because, last year Mercedes were awesome. Well, were horrible in qualifying and were awesome in race pace, and Ferrari were kind of in the first half of the season great in quali, sure, but in the second half they kind of tailored off the front running pace a little bit, and now they've kind of switched places where Ferrari are qualifying phenomenally and then are just falling back in the race and kind of falling victim to either Mercedes Ferrari or Mercedes Aston Martin or McLaren, depending on who kind of has their car better suited or just has it in a better window for that weekend. It's awesome to see that best of the rest battle going on, because I don't think we've seen it so close. I mean, obviously, apart from Red Bull, they will call it the F1B team. I don't even think you can say apart from Red Bull. I think it's everyone apart from Max Verstappen has been really exciting this season, but it's just Max is leagues ahead of everyone else. As you say, though, that car has been tailored around him from him being in that team for multiple years.
So I thought it was an interesting topic to chat about, the fact, we're best car on the grid. So I put a poll up, so be sure to go and participate in that poll. Go and let us know, who do you think is the second best car on the grid? Is it going to be Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, or one of the others? I didn't include Aston Martin because I thought their last 5 races has been really shocking. So hopefully the upgrades this weekend will maybe change that. So let's go a little bit closer to home rather than long distance. Let's go straight to this weekend. We've got, of course, Zandvoort coming up. It's a normal weekend, practice 1, 2, 3, qualifying, and the race on Sunday. Now, Lance Stroll was pictured earlier today, funny enough, arriving at Zandvoort with a patch right behind his ear there. We don't quite know what it is yet, but he's got something there, as well as I'm now reading some more details about some other things with Lance Stroll. The fact that he is apparently struck down with an infection ahead of going into the Dutch Grand Prix. Now, he's also started the season, don't forget, with that bicycle accident, which he's been praised for coming back out of, but he just seems to not get a break. And I mean, is that something that's concerned? Because there's lots of news this weekend with Lance Stroll. Maybe he got a tennis injury from his infection. Maybe that's what it's from. I don't know. There's a couple of rumors saying that he's going to decide to give up his F1 career and go to tennis. I mean, Reese, tell us what's happening with Lance Stroll.
Well, Kyle and John are kind of looking a little bit confused there. Yes, you heard that right. Lance Stroll is supposedly, it's a rumor from planetf1.com, who probably can't be trusted at this point, but nonetheless, it is a hilarious article about not Lando Norris, Lance Stroll wanting to quit Formula One and go and play tennis professionally instead. So good for him if he wants to do that. People have been saying maybe his dad's going to buy him Wimbledon. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's. I'll tell you what. I think, without being harsh, I mean, I don't think Lance Stroll's a bad driver, not at all. But I think most of
people
the
just
F1
love to hate him, like
would very much welcome the idea that Lance Stroll is out of Formula One. So I think the concept of him leaving, I'm sure, has probably definitely sparked the interest in many a fan. So yeah.
Okay. Now, with Lance Stroll, it's always been a bit of a love-hate relationship also from my side, because he does have an awesome driving style. It's actually very cool to watch his onboards, because he does these tiny movements of the steering wheel. Instead of like fully committing into a medium speed corner, he actually tweaks the steering wheel to get through. And it's very interesting to see how he uses that driving style in the wet. He's a phenomenal driver for me in the wet. It's just he makes silly decisions when he's in the race. And I think that aggressive driving style, that, not caring who comes out of the corner, with he's just taking the line whether he wants to or not, even with his own teammates. And I think that's what's kind of given him a bit of a bad rep. But there are so many drivers on the grid who are similar to that. Esteban Ocon for me is one of those. He's a brilliant driver. I don't obviously talk anything bad about him, but he's one of those aggressive drivers that he will go into that corner, and if you make it out alive on the other side, well, that's your responsibility, not mine. Let's say it that way. So I think that's why Stroll's gotten a bit of a bad rep. But if he wants to go play tennis, I think a lot of people wouldn't mind.
Yes. Well, then, so you'll be backing Lance Stroll this weekend, Jono, because it is actually being predicted that it may rain for the majority of the sessions this race weekend. Another Formula One race with weather affecting it. I mean, we haven't had a dry race weekend since Miami in May.
Yeah, it's all the European races.
Precisely.
if you look anywhere other than the Middle East, has just been rain. Which has been great, because for me, I think the rain is a great equalizer. Obviously, Red Bull, dry or wet, that car is still phenomenal, but it kind of closes up the field and makes it a little bit more up to the driver. Like if you saw at Spa last year, George Russell, in 2021, he took the slowest car on the grid and put it P2 on the grid. Kevin Magnussen last year in Brazil put it on pole for the sprint. It's really awesome to have these races in the wet, because you really just have no idea what's going to happen. But there's a lot of drivers who are brilliant in the wet. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. It's just I assume there's an interjecting point. So, Kyle, you've not spoken for a little bit. I think he's just having a good thought process. So, whilst you're thinking about things going to this weekend, we've got wet weather happening. We've got, of course, a long break and lots of upgrades for various teams. So, everyone knows Max Verstappen is probably going to finish number one at his home Grand Prix, break the record, the wins record, get up to 9 straight wins in a row, beating fellow Red Bull stalwart Sebastian Vettel. Now, I'm assuming you're going to say Max Verstappen wins this Grand Prix as well, but I want to start off and ask you first, Carl. Who is your top 5? Predict for me out of nowhere who's going to finish in the top 5 and whereabouts.
Yeah, well, first place is the easy one. I do think that'll be Max. It's really hard to place Checo, isn't it? But I do feel that, and what I love about that guy as a driver is back against the wall, he finds some fight and he pulls some. As soon as he's under the most criticism and under the most pressure, he pulls something out the bag. And I feel like we will finally have that double Red Bull podium that the car seems to have deserved. I think Checo is going to come back strong. The final podium spot, I think, is going to be a fight between the McLaren boys, to be honest. 3 and 4 there. I know that puts my hopes of at least a Ferrari 4 and 5. The math doesn't add up there. But I think Charles will be ahead of Carlos. Possibly a 5-6 there, because I do think the McLaren guys might be ahead there. So I guess what I'm saying is I think it's double Red Bull, double McLaren, and 1 Ferrari after that. And before we move on, and I will allow the subject to be dropped quickly just for context around what I was saying about the Ferrari numbers on being the second best car. If I quickly look at the numbers in front of me from the Monaco race simulation pace after the practices, the numbers are that Ferrari were 2 tenths behind the Red Bull on race pace. It's not quali pace, in race pace. The Mercedes 500ths behind that. The Aston Martin then 700ths behind the Mercedes, and then McLaren at 400ths behind that, and very quickly onto the same numbers, but from Spain. Ferrari were 3 tenths behind Red Bull on that analysis. Aston Martin 200ths behind that, and they had an even worse time, didn't they? Mercedes just about another 10th behind Aston Martin on the race pace analysis, and McLaren were actually quite further behind that there. So I think we are seeing that more than before, teams are having a big effect on how they strategize and access the potential in the car. But I'll leave it at that.
Well, then, yeah, so basing it off that, Reese, then, so Carl's going and saying Ferrari's got the second best car on the grid. So are they going to go and get a second and a third in the podium this weekend? Because, if they get their strategy right, which they'd never do, that's certainly possible. So, who's your top 5 and reasons why?
To be completely honest, I don't see the Ferraris in the top 4. But, yeah, I mean, that's being realistic. Max should be very strong this weekend. I agree with Kyle. That Sergio Perez should also bounce back quite well after the summer break. He's had time to kind of just digest the first half of the season. He's had time to relax. I think one of the major problems that he was having at the end of this first stint is that it just did get really repetitive and very tiring, of course, with multiple back-to-back races. And I think this break has been very good for him. He's been in the factory already from Monday this week, working quite hard to get back up to pace. And I think he's going to hit the ground running, and I agree with Carl. It will be a Red Bull 1-2. Then I agree as well. It will be a bit of a fight between the McLarens for that third place. We might get a bit of a surprise maybe by Ferrari, but I don't really see it coming off the back of the rest of the season.
If it rains, I think both Mercedes drivers will finish in front of the Ferrari drivers.
Yes.
I will say that as well.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I was about to say, nobody's mentioned the Mercs, which I think is surprising. So, Johnny, your top 5 here.
That's what I was about to bring up. I know you mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast that I'm a Ferrari fan, but in actual fact, I'm not really a team's supporter. Well, I am in the sense that I support all the teams, that I want them all to grow because it's good for the sport. But I prefer to support the drivers, and my driver is actually George Russell.
Cry Russell. Oh dear.
Russell the love muscle, man. I've been following him since GP3. and yeah, it's my thing. But anyway, I think most of you guys are excluding the fact that Brazil and Zandvoort are Mercedes' two strongest tracks with this generation of aerodynamics. Last year, George came second comfortably in the dry. So I think you guys are underestimating what the Mercs are going to do. I see there being a Red Bull, obviously Max coming P1, which will equal Seb Vettel's record. It won't break his record, not yet.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but yeah, I think Mercedes are going to be 2-3, and P4 and P5 are going to be a scrap between McLaren, Aston Martin, and Ferrari. Whoever has better tire deg and who gets the strategy calls right, obviously barring any what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, any like safety cars or red flags or anything like that. Any interjections by fate.
I think the only reason I left out the Mercedes is because of the back of Belgium with their porpoising. I'm quite worried with Zandvoort with having such a long straight here. I think that with bringing even more upgrades this race weekend, they might not get it right and might still be struggling with those porpoising issues. And that really does cost you quite a lot of lap time around a short circuit like this.
Absolutely.
And the wind as well, I'm sure, doesn't help.
Yes, the wind as well, for sure. They're right next to the beach.
Yeah, and I suppose
I
mean I'm just gonna go very, very quickly and give my top 5 as well. I thought I'd try to participate at least. So I'm gonna go and say Max Verstappen 1. I reckon number 2 will probably be Lando Norris, funny enough. I just back Lando and that McLaren. I really do. I think McLaren are going to come back here, and they're certainly looking to try and end the season on a high. And I think they're just going to keep it going.
He loves all the orange fans in the crowd. He always says
exactly. It's going to be great for him. So he's going to love seeing all the orange. So I'm going to go very quickly. It's going to go Max Verstappen 1, Lando Norris 2. I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton 3. I'm going to say Charles Leclerc 4 and Perez 5. That's going to be an odd little thing there. I reckon Perez only finishes
left up Piastri. I see.
Yeah, but I think Piastri's probably going to have the same issue he had last time, where he's probably going to go and be too brave, and I think he's going to see a bit of a problem with that. I think it's a very tricky track, and it's very easy to lose it. We've seen, especially coming around those at the final corner there. It's very easy to lose it in that section there. I do reckon Piastri probably makes a couple of mistakes or two. I reckon he finishes in top 10, but I think he will probably rue his chances there. So I definitely think Max Verstappen wins, but after that, I think it's so exciting to see the rest of the grid what happens, because every Grand Prix we go and say, this is what we think is going to happen, but we really don't know other than first place. And the problem is everyone's so fixated on first place. And whilst we're on that topic, I'm going to open up the floor here and say, are F1 fans in general too obsessed with who comes first and not the actual race that happens? And I'm going to go to Reese first, and then we'll go through.
Well, I mean, we say this all the time on our race streams, that it's not necessarily about the one in first, because we see so many great battles throughout the rest of the field that are equally as exciting as we'd see for a battle for first place. Of course, we want to see battles for first place. We want to see the fighting going on until the last lap. That is always a trait of a great Formula One race, but it's not always possible in an era where we have a dominant driver, which we can't say it's never happened before in Formula One, because we've had Lewis Hamilton, we've had Senna, we've had Michael Schumacher, we've had all the greats come through, and they've all had they've all had their period of dominance. And I think it's just Max's turn at the moment. It might not go in for as long as some of those other greats, but it's still a bit of an unknown at the moment.
Carl, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. And to bring some new points in, I think the casuals might be more obsessed with first place, while the more invested fans are enjoying the midfield battle, and even the battle just for 1 point, and then just the battle to not be last as well. Personally, I've been enjoying that a lot this season. Gatekeeping warning, sorry, any casual fan out there. I don't mean to throw any shade there. Feel free to let me know in the comments if I'm completely wrong as well, if you consider yourself a casual fan. But I also feel like the point system, I'm giving away my age now and when I started watching Formula One, but since winning a race has gone from, being a difference of 2 points from second place to now being worth 25 points, 7 points more than second place. And as it goes down the tier list, the podium places being that much more worthwhile than anything else in the top 10. I feel like that is why the podium, and in particular first place, has a bigger obsession, back in the day when it was just 2 points difference on the podium and then everything else was 1 point different chronologically from there. You had to be more invested in the rest of the point scoring positions, because winning didn't give you a free ticket to a championship. If you've won the next race, but the following 2 you were fourth, you could be behind to the guy that just consistently finished second for those 3. You can check my maths afterwards. I haven't done the quick mental maths there, but I think you guys get my point. And
yeah.
So back in my day, in the 2000s, early 2000s, through that whole era, you had to be invested in every single scoring point because it mattered more. And since the point scoring has changed, I don't think the midfield matters as much.
Jono, your thoughts?
I completely agree with Carl in that sense. I feel like they've made victory too important, with them actually making such a big difference in the points. Having 2 points, I think consistency, even if the winner got 4 points more, and then the rest of the grid got, 2, and then maybe the last 3 finishers got 1 point, or they could switch it around, do whatever they want. I mean, the thing with Formula One is it's about innovation of technology and sport. If the sport is not changing, it dies, because anything that stays the same and stagnates will eventually come to an end. So if you look every 7-8 years, they change the aerodynamics, they change the point systems, they change the penalty systems. I just think we're in a stage at the moment where, like Carl says, they've made too much out of coming first. And so as we've seen from 2010 already, like when Vettel's era started going into Lewis's and now Max's, the points difference between first and second, other than 2010, obviously, when, Seb didn't even lead the championship the whole year. But from then onwards, it's like ridiculous points margins, because if you win, even the guy who's coming second is getting 7 points less every time he comes second to you. In 3 races, that's 21 points. How do you get that back?
It's exactly that. And I think, leading on to this, a very good little conversation we can have, and I think that's something that can certainly be discussed in a greater sense, is why is it, and this is leading on to this and slightly different, but why is it that you only get points for the top 10 places? I've never understood that. I have never understood the concept of only handing out points to the top 10, because you have then teams who are sitting 17th and 16th going, oh, you know what, let's just retire the cars. Pointless. We're not going to get points today. Let's just retire. And it's boring for the rest of us. You want to see those cars still out there. And I've never understood why they don't set up the points in a way that gets points all the way down to 20th. 20th being the only one that doesn't get points for me. And surely that's something that we need to have as well. And, it's an interesting thing to talk about. And I think, try and come up with a solution right now if you can, or otherwise just lead on from somebody else's. What should the points scoring system be? I mean, how should we be looking at it in terms of making it more exciting, especially further down right at the back there? As Kyle said, he's been enjoying seeing who's not come last in each race and who's battled not to come last. But I mean, that would be far more exciting if there were points up for grabs as well.
Yeah, I think from a radical perspective, almost like a reverse grid, like what F2 does. You have a reverse grid of the points. So the person who finishes first gets 20, all the way down to 19th, which would get 2. And then obviously if you finish last, you don't get a point because, well, you finished last. But I think that would be interesting. Not to say that it's realistic or even sustainable, but, they need to do something to change it up, because they're losing a lot of fans with the way that they are going about running the sport at the moment.
And before somebody else also gives an answer, just got a comment here from Brittany, a very good, interesting idea here. She just says, I'm sure one of the reasons they brought in the sprints idea was to reduce the points difference for those winners. But we've seen most of this season that Max Verstappen has won a lot of those sprints. So, I mean, is that still stopping it? Because in the sprints, you've got 8 points available for the top 8 positions in the same order that John has just gone and said, the reverse points. So now, is that not just adding more and more to that winner, especially if you have a dominant driver like Max Verstappen? I mean, that's the problem, I suppose. The sprints also bring up. It's a good idea to try and spread points across different things, but the problem is when the same people are winning it, it just takes that margin even further away.
I think sprint race weekends and sprint races should be, as Jono says, in the Formula 2 style with the reverse grids, but I think they should actually start them reverse style. They have a specific sprint qualifying. Why not do something a little bit different? It allows people from the bottom of the grid maybe to score some points. It allows more opportunities for lower scoring teams in a race on Sunday to actually get some points on the race weekend. I mean, we've still got the likes of, Daniel Ricciardo has only done 2 races, but he's still got 0 points. The majority of the AlphaTauri team has barely any points to their name. Haas doesn't have a lot of points. Of course, Nico Hulkenberg's had a few good races, but it would just allow those lower scoring teams to get more of an opportunity. And it also would, I think, just make racing quite exciting as well.
Kyle, and I see you nodding and agreeing. So what would be your thought of solutions, both to sprints, the points, and to the race itself? I mean, and also concepts, as we says, he goes and says, why isn't it that we have a reverse grid order for the sprint races where we make those really top teams fight through the grid by the end of the sprint to try and get as many points as possible?
I think it'd be very exciting. I like it from a fan perspective. I'm not sure from a practicality perspective how they'd make that work, but I like the idea. And Mark, I really do like your idea of having points all the way through to 19th and last place not getting a point. And I think that would be really cool to bring into the sprint races as well, to make sure that playing field is leveled as well. Because currently, and correct me if I'm wrong, gents, it's only up to 8th place in the sprints that gets any points as well. So
that's correct.
The effect is even worse there. But man, it would be exciting to see a reverse grid. I think if there were, goodness, it would make it. I might be suggesting a bit of a dog's breakfast for how points would add up and work and stuff. But what if we, goodness, and I can't believe I'm saying this on a Formula One forum, goodness me, but what if we did a reverse grid, but like NASCAR? So sorry to bring up that name with Formula One here, but like with NASCAR, if we had points for overtaking and not just for final positions, then with that reverse grid, I think that would be exciting.
I think Bulls will score a lot of points, though, unfortunately.
Yeah,
very impractical.
So, Johnny, you're going to say something there.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, motorsports in general. If you look at NASCAR, yes, a lot of people say it's turning left a lot for 500 laps, but there's still a lot of engineering that goes into what they do and into actually making the sport sustainable for them, and also to maximize the longevity of it, to make sure that they have enough fans to keep the sport moving forward and growing. Like if you look at NASCAR, it's still to this day the most watched motorsport in the world, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong. If someone claps me over the head, I'm sorry, but there's a reason for that. And I think yes, Red Bull would also get a lot of extra points for overtaking, but then so would everybody else. If you look at Logan Sargent, I saw statistics this morning. Logan Sargent has made 16 positions on the first lap so far this season. He's made up 16 positions. Can you imagine if Logan Sargent had 16 more points than he does at the moment? Which is zero.
It's exactly that sort of thing. And his teammate as well, Alex Albon, who's been doing so well in the midfield, many overtakes and otherwise, especially in the beginning of laps. So, I mean, it's. I think the immediate problem though with the point scoring when it comes to overtakes is that you will then have completely different strategies, which is probably a bit too different to prior Formula One seasons and the history of Formula One, which has been going on for so long. Of course, is the fact that you then have teams maybe opting not to try and finish at the top and just go around like Max Verstappen without a single overtake because he just stays in first place. So you might then see Red Bull, for example, decide, we're going to try and aim for 8th or 9th, and then we'll make 8 overtakes, and then we've got first place in the bag as well. I think that's the the other problem that you'll have with the overtakes option. But I do love the idea that, you get rewarded for overtaking people. But I also think, we go back to the sprint race weekend and reversing orders in ways we can make it more exciting and give points out more that sort of makes it a bit more entertaining. You guys are more than welcome to tell me I'm an idiot here, but I reckon don't have a sprint race weekend the way we have it right now. What we should have is practice 1, practice 2, qualifying for the race and the sprint. For the race, you'll obviously start up the grid where you do finish, obviously, in qualifying. But in the sprint, as Reece suggests, a reverse order there. And you've got 20 points down to 1 point at the bottom there. And then for the race itself, then double those points, because I think it's more important. Then you go and say 40 points, and then you just minus 2 points each place. Reece, your immediate thoughts. Tell me I'm an idiot, or is that something that's fun? Or, I don't know.
Well, I don't think any opinion at this point is stupid, because I think we need something to make the sport a little bit more exciting. Of course, these new regulations have made the sport a lot more exciting. If we think back to Lewis Hamilton's dominance era, the cars really did struggle to follow each other, and we had so little overtakes throughout a race. Already with these new regulations, we're getting a lot more overtakes and a lot more inter-race battles, which at least makes things quite exciting for a Formula One race. But I think we do need to give the teams further down the grid more opportunities to score points.
Yeah, Car?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. John is going to speak in. Yes, John.
That's cool. No, so, I agree with Reece from that perspective. The turbo hybrid era was probably one of the most painstaking to watch, because the cars were so difficult to follow each other. You just saw a driver try to overtake for 1 lap, and if he didn't get right, fall back to 2-second gap so that he didn't munch his tires behind all the dirty air. So from a racing perspective, they've already improved the sport exponentially, I would say. We've seen so many more overtakes and a lot of close battles, people following each other side by side into corners that, just weren't possible to do previously. But what I think Formula One and the FIA need to realize is that it takes more than just a racing spectacle to make a sport attractive to fans. Like you say, we need to have something more involved in the point scoring process that gives more teams an opportunity to, like you say, actually get a chance at scoring points and making those battles from P1 all the way down to P10 in the constructors never a sure thing. I don't think it should ever be a sure thing the way that it has been over the last couple of years.
Carl?
Look, I can't help but just agree with all the points that you gents have come up with. Some exciting ideas. I think the practicality side of things is where we'll struggle to see how it can work. Make sure that, I think it's balance, I think, is the word here. Mark, the voice of reason, correctly pointing out the problems of my plan, and fair enough. I think it's finding a balance between having points for position, certainly in the scenario we cooked up of reverse grid plus overtaking points plus, I think, points for where you do finish. But I think the reverse grid helps, because now if you do finish higher up qualifying for that, you're going to be reversed, end up for the back opportunity to overtake, etc. Look, I don't know, smarter people than me would have to figure out how the numbers together would work and make sure there's a balance in the sport and value for genuinely being the best car and driver. I do agree that the sport needs to find something to make it a bit more exciting for the, not only for the viewer, but for the other teams that are on the back end of the grid. Give them something to fight for more than just 10th place. I feel like you can't come away with being 11th and have the same amount of points as 20th. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest points as well is the fact that this point scoring system possibly scares away so many other teams from wanting to even join Formula One. Because if you're going to be at the back of the grid for multiple years while you try get up to pace, there's no opportunity of you ever scoring points. You're going to get the minimal amount of money you can get from the Constructors' Championship, and your team's just going to fizzle out and die.
I think money is a good point you bring up there, Reece. Yeah, didn't even think of that. And that's what small teams need to survive and stay in the sport. And how do you get sponsors when you're showing 0 points for your 11th place and try to convince investors, but no, we're almost there. And then they're like, but you have the same amount of points as 20. How do we invest in
how's it going to work when we have 11 teams on the grid, 12 teams on the grid? Do we then extend points down to 12th place or 14th place because we're going to have 22, 24 drivers on the grid? It just does not seem like a system that is working correctly.
Yeah, I must agree on.
Yeah, sorry, John. I was just going to say, you've got something to say.
Yeah, no, I think, financially speaking, how do you, as a business person, justify spending £200 million in a year and, not really having much to show for it? Whether you've actually, obviously in the Constructors' Championship, even between P9 and P10, there's a massive difference in what you get back from the championship itself. But how do you justify spending £200 million to get, let's say, £50 million back? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's exactly that. And that's the problem with Formula One. It's always been a massive monetary problem.
And that's why we've seen so many teams go bankrupt. We've seen Minardi go well, was it Minardi? There was also Toyota left because of, I think it was also financial reasons. Then it was Force India. They also went bankrupt. I mean, it's just a very expensive sport. Of course, they've tried to get that under control with the cost cap era, but it's still a ton of money if you're not going to score any points and benefit from it at all.
Yeah, and you know what? I think we've had a really, really good conversation. You had some very good ideas shared amongst us all. And I think certainly, quite frankly, if I ever happen to stumble upon our little conversations, there's certainly ideas that we're not actually unique in having. I'm sure many, many thousands across the world in Formula One have also thought of very similar sort of ideas and otherwise. But I'd certainly think it all speaks to one main point, which is the fact that change is needed. And we know that the system right now, whilst good, could definitely use some significant improvement, especially for those lower teams, which should also affect the higher teams as well. The lower teams are always going to remain to be a low team because they just do not have the means to compete, especially with the points basis and the budgets that your top teams have. But we are going to start wrapping up the show now. So I just want to go back to that point we made up much earlier in the show, and I just thought I'd tell Kyle this, and of course, the stats will say otherwise, but just people's personal opinions. I just had a laugh at the poll, which says, who do you think has got the second best car on the grid? So we had 50% say McLaren, 25% say Ferrari, and 25% say Mercedes. So Ferrari, for quite a while, they didn't actually have a single vote, which was quite funny. I think that just speaks to the fact that Ferrari's strategy in races has been so poor that nobody's even backed them in terms of a car point. So we're going into Zandvoort this weekend. We're about to end off the show here. I've already asked for your predictions with regards to who's going to finish up top there. So let's go to the rest of the season. At the very end of the season, who are our top three drivers in terms of points? Who do you think will finish 1, 2, 3? Let's make it really, really quick. Let's just give a very short explanation for each driver. Very, very short. And let's just go 1, 2, 3. Reece, start for us.
Well, I'm going to be quite calculated here. I've been watching Lewis Hamilton slowly scraping back those points throughout the first half of the season, and I think he's going to be able to take it to Sergio Perez. I know Sergio Perez is having a bit of his comeback as well, but I think Hamilton is just able to keep a lot more consistent. So I'm going to say Max Verstappen will be first, of course. He's comfortably in the lead. Then I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton second and Sergio Perez third in the Drivers' Championship by the end of the year.
All right, cool. Kyle, your predictions.
I want to inform myself quickly and look at the current gaps, but my instinct is Max first, Checo second, just because I'm rooting for him. What can I say? I like the guy. I want him to have a great comeback. The final spot, I think Fernando is going to drop out of that. I think the Mercedes consistency might have Lewis there by third. I'm not going to write off a McLaren driver snatching it from from Lewis, though.
So you're not backing your boys. You're not backing Charles to come in there in that third place position. So
I'll always back my boys, but I can't back the team right now.
Indeed. Jono, your predictions.
Okay, so Max obviously first. I thought it was interesting, bold, and obviously also very plausible that Lewis can surpass Checo in the driver's standings, but I don't think he'll do it. I think Sergio will be able to hold on to P2. I'm being optimistic in saying that I really hope that George can have a much better second half to his year. He's had 2 DNFs at the beginning of the season, which has put him a fair whack behind Lewis. So I'm being very optimistic in saying so, but I'm going to put George for P3 in the constructors, just to be the nail in the haystack.
Right. Okay. So we've pretty much all of us, of course, got Max Verstappen 1. There's then an argument over either Perez or Hamilton in second, but Jono's backing George in third. So I'm going to go and just quickly say, I'm going to say Max Verstappen 1, Sergio Perez 2, Hamilton 3. I think I'm just going to go with what is probably the most likely scenario. Fernando Alonso, I'm sure, will probably drop out of that top 3, which is very sad because he's probably my favorite driver on the grid. But I just don't see that Aston Martin, as much as they're bringing
my favorite driver on the grid too. Look at it.
I'll tell you.
Same as well.
So as much as I'd love Fernando Alonso to finish up there, I don't think Aston Martin will have brought enough upgrades for the rest of the season to back him with that. But never count him out. Maybe I'll just put him in a cheeky 4th ahead of Charles Leclerc still. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us today for this fan forum and the preview to Zandvoort, the Grand Prix getting up this weekend. You can catch all of the action live here on Forever Motorsports as well as Forever Sports. Me and Reese will be commentating throughout all of the sessions throughout the weekend, and I'm sure we're going to have some great action as well. So from Reese, Kyle, Jono, and myself, Mark, you've been watching Forever Motorsports on this fan forum. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Cheerio.
Welcome to Zandvoort, the home of the Dutch Grand Prix. This circuit provides a challenge for the Formula One drivers, as it is one of the more technical circuits on the calendar. With its long main straight, undulating elevation, and high banked corners. The circuit is made up of 14 corners and 2 DRS zones. This weekend, we could see Max Verstappen equaling Sebastian Vettel's 9 consecutive race win record in front of his home crowd. Ride on board now with Verstappen as he takes you around his home circuit. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Formula One content, and we hope you'll join us for our coverage of the Dutch Grand Prix.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Motorsports for the Dutch Grand Prix Day 1 review. We just finished FP2. Now, FP2, of course, we should have seen some more qualifying attempts. We saw a lot of soft tire runs. But the big news of the day is the fact that Lando Norris was actually the one who managed to get the fastest lap of FP2. I mean, how's that?
Yes, I certainly didn't expect to see Lando Norris topping the timesheets at the end of the session, but he had some great lap time out there and was able to take that top spot against Max Verstappen. Very, very close, though, between those two drivers. 0.023 seconds splitting those first and second positions. And great to see that we do have quite a lot of competition ahead of us this race weekend, hopefully.
Yes, so Lando Norris finished in first place with a 1:11.330, whereas Max Verstappen finished with a 1:11.353, so 0.023 seconds behind the McLaren. Alex Albon finished in third there, a 1:11.599. Then it was Lewis Hamilton in fourth, Tsunoda in fifth, Gasly in sixth, Perez in seventh, Stroll in eighth, 9 was Bottas, and 10 Alonso. Our bottom 10, Reese.
Charles Leclerc, Logan Sargent, Esteban Ocon, George Russell, Zhou Guanyu, Hamilton, I think is Carlos Sainz, Magnussen in 17th, Hulkenberg 18th, Piastri, and Ricciardo 19th and 20th after their crash that they had early on in the session. Unfortunately, Piastri just lost it into turn 3. He lost the rear end there, hit the rear end on the barrier, and that was his session done because he broke his front wing and I think his front suspension as well. And then coming up behind him was Daniel Ricciardo on a hot lap. He saw Piastri at the last second, decided to bail out, and himself ended up in the wall.
Yeah, I mean, Piastri, unfortunately, just lost it into turn 3, going into the wall, as Reece says. So those two, Piastri and Ricciardo, did not finish the session. Early on in the day, of course, we had Kevin Hulkenberg. We'll get there. Nico Hulkenberg also spun out into the gravel. He didn't damage the car, though, whereas Piastri and Ricciardo quite significantly damaged theirs. So they're going to need to do lots of repairs by tomorrow for practice session 3, right before we get to qualifying later. And again, be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this video as well, so that you guys can be notified about tomorrow's streams as well. Now, the McLarens, obviously we've got Lando Norris right at the front, Piastri down there. I think Piastri probably would have been right up there with Lando Norris. But another team that was doing all right and then apparently has not seemingly ended all right was Aston Martin.
Yes, well, they had quite good pace in the FP1 session, and then this session they seem to have just fallen back a little bit. Maybe people weren't showing their true pace in the first session, and now in the second session we're seeing where they truly do fit in the pecking order. Unfortunately, not what we really wanted. We wanted to see Aston Martin picking up the pace a little bit, but yeah, this looks unfortunately like where they're going to be for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. I was really hoping Aston Martin were going to be a much better team come this weekend. It doesn't look like it's going to be likely. Alonso finished in 10th and Stroll in 8th in that second practice session. Now we've just finished. The two Mercedes, though, quite split. Russell in 14th and Hamilton in 4th. Now, what on earth do you think's happened there between Russell and Hamilton?
Well, Hamilton, I mean, he's been more comfortable in that car throughout the entire season compared to his teammate Russell. Russell much preferred the zero side pod concept, whereas Hamilton just seems to be a lot more comfortable in the side podded concept design. And yeah, I think George Russell, even though he has been in the factory trying to get to grips with their new side pod concept car, he's still really struggling to find pace compared to his teammate.
So we now also look at the Haas drivers, Hulkenberg and Magnussen. Hulkenberg, of course, after crashing out in practice 1 and practice 2, finished in 18th. His teammate Kevin Magnussen in 17th. Really poor showing from Haas today.
Yes, unfortunately, Haas, I've been saying they just have no pace this season, I think.
Will they ever have pace?
I don't think so. I think they just have too little budget, and I don't really rate their drivers all that highly. I mean, Hulkenberg is all right in certain races. Magnussen, I think, is it's going to be quite harsh there. But I think Magnussen has had his time. I won't say that he has been. He's had his time in Formula 1, and I think they need to make place in that seat for another driver.
I think you've got a driver in mind, don't you? Probably. But that driver is never going to return to Haas, that being Mick Schumacher. But
I don't want Mick to return Haas anyways.
He could return, though, in place of Logan Sargent. Though Logan Sargent didn't do too badly today. Finished in 12th in the second practice session. So let's see what he does tomorrow in qualifying and in the race on Sunday. Lots of teams to watch. Williams has been relatively decent so far. Alpine's Gasly finished in 6th, whereas the teammate Ocon down in 13th.
That's not looking good.
So we're just seeing now also this
Daniel Ricciardo really hurt his hand.
Yes. Daniel Ricciardo, as we saw in the replay of that session earlier today, we're seeing Daniel Ricciardo's hand really looks quite sore. And of course, he came in to replace Nick de Vries in that AlphaTauri seat. So now could Nick de Vries come back into the AlphaTauri seat in place of Daniel Ricciardo?
I don't know what's going to happen, but that does not look promising. It looks like Daniel Ricciardo has really hurt his hand in that crash. The steering wheel often in a crash just goes absolutely erratic, and you have to normally let go. And I think while letting go, the steering wheel may have come around and smacked his left hand. And he was holding it as he got out of the car. He wasn't able to use it to support his weight. So that's not looking very promising for him, unfortunately. And I'm hoping he's going to be able to race throughout the rest of this weekend.
Yeah, so not looking good for Danny Rick. His teammate, though, Tsunoda, finished all the way up in 5th. So really not too bad from the AlphaTauri in terms of time. So maybe it's actually a relatively quick car this weekend. It should be very disappointing if Ricciardo cannot participate tomorrow in the sessions. I'm hoping his hand injury will be fine. Maybe just a couple of bruises. Maybe it was just an immediate reaction to it. I'm sure we'll get more information on that as it comes for later on in the day. Now, also looking at Perez now, of course, he was one of the first drivers to set a fast lap on the soft tire, so he finished down in 7th position, but still quite a way off his teammate Max Verstappen, though.
Yes, I mean, really far off of his teammate. He's 0.4 seconds off of Lando Norris's time, which means he's 0.46 off of his teammate's time. That is a massive gap between people in the exact same car.
Yeah, I mean, really, really not great there. Perez also still aiming for a bounce back coming into the second half of this season after ending all right, I suppose, but really not having a great first half of the season as he would have liked. And lots of interviews with him and the Red Bull team about him regarding his form, and lots of chat about whether or not he could be replaced next season. Of course, Alex Albon being one of those names that could potentially be mentioned, but I'm not sure if Alex Albon will go back to Red Bull, but we don't know. All up in the air. But that was day one. Reese, any other things you want to talk about after today?
Well, there wasn't too much that happened really in the second session other than race simulations. The Mercedes look there and thereabouts. The Red Bulls and McLarens look quite evenly matched. Max Verstappen did put in a really fast lap time at one point, but yeah, I think it's going to be quite close in terms of pace throughout the rest of this race weekend. Hopefully that means we'll get some really great racing, but we'll have to wait and see what does happen. It should be quite exciting though.
Indeed, the Ferrari is looking very slow this weekend so far. Hopefully we're going to see some major improvements with them in practice session 3 tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for joining us on Forever Motorsports. Reese has been Reese and I have been myself, Mark. You've joined us here. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Turn on those notifications. Tell your friends about the channel. We are really trying to get this going.
Welcome to Zandvoort, the home of the Dutch Grand Prix. This circuit provides a challenge for the Formula One drivers, as it is one of the more technical circuits on the calendar. With its long main straight, undulating elevation, and high banked corners. The circuit is made up of 14 corners and 2 DRS zones. This weekend, we could see Max Verstappen equaling Sebastian Vettel's 9 consecutive race win record in front of his home crowd. Ride on board now with Verstappen as he takes you around his home circuit. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Formula 1 content, and we hope you'll join us for our coverage of the Dutch Grand Prix. Yes, you heard that right. Of course, it is just a rumor, but Lance Stroll is reportedly considering a switch to tennis. Aston Martin driver Lance Stroll is rumored to be considering leaving Formula 1 to become a professional tennis star. The Canadian has enjoyed a respectable level of success since arriving on the grid with Williams in 2017, claiming 3 podium finishes and memorably setting pole position for the 2020 Turkish Grand Prix, but is yet to prove his credentials as a potential world champion. Stroll's commitment has been regularly questioned throughout his 7-year Formula 1 career, with rumours growing that he may be set to walk away from the sport. I mean, I will be very surprised if Stroll retires to do tennis. I had a great chuckle yesterday, though, on Twitter with, of course, when this article came out, people just took the absolute mick out of, not Mick Schumacher, but the Mickey out of Lance Stroll, because no one expects Lance Stroll to go and do tennis. Someone commented and said, has Lawrence Stroll bought his son Wimbledon? Because, I mean, he came and bought his son a Formula 1 team. What's going to stop him from buying Wimbledon? But nonetheless, a bit of a funny article to end off our stream here today. Ollie Behrman is to have his Formula 1 debut with Haas in Austin. It is not 100% confirmed yet, but it is speculation around the grid. And, I mean, the Formula 1 rumour mill, often when it does have a little bit of smoke, it deems to be true. So, Formula 2 frontrunner Oliver Behrman has now firmly established himself to be the best prospect of the Ferrari Driver Academy, and has now become the Scuderia's next junior driver in Formula 1. as he is set to have his Grand Prix debut at the end of October, where he'll drive a Haas VF23 during the FP1 session for the US Grand Prix in Austin at COTA, which is of course Circuit of the Americas. It's not the easiest track, certainly a difficult track for him to make his Formula One debut at, but nonetheless very exciting to have the young Formula 2 driver who won Formula 3 last season coming into Formula One. Keanu Reeves is joining Formula One with Brawn. Keanu Reeves will host a Disney Plus docu-series called Brawn: The Impossible Formula One Story, which examines the success of the underdog Brawn team in winning the World Championship in 2009 with just £1. Reeves will interview race car drivers and key figures involved in the team's victory, providing exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the Formula One fairy tale. The docuseries sets itself apart from other racing-related titles by taking a historical and documentary approach, with Reeves as the perfect host. The series will premiere later this year on Disney+. London-based Enyo Law said Brazilian Massa, now 42, had been the victim of a conspiracy committed by individuals at the highest level of Formula One, together with the FIA and Formula One management. It is said that Massa has lost out on tens of millions of euros in lost earnings and bonuses as a result of another driver's deliberate crash at the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix that was allegedly covered up before becoming a scandal in 2009. This was known as Crashgate, and wow, it really was a story that did shock the Formula One community. Just going on here, the crash that cost Massa vital points in a season where he ultimately lost out by a single point to McLaren's Lewis Hamilton, the first of the Britons, record equaling seven World Championship titles. Simply put, by Massa's lawyers, Mr. Massa is the rightful 2008 Drivers' Champion, and F1 and Formula One and the FIA deliberately ignored the misconduct that cheated him out of that title, said the letter. Mr. Massa is unable to fully quantify his losses at this stage, but estimates that they are likely to exceed tens of millions of euros. I mean, gosh, this is quite substantial to see a lawsuit coming for a lost championship, because of course it was due to misconduct from the FIA and Formula One bosses. So he could have a leg to stand on really here for a court proceeding. Carrying on here though, this amount does not cover the serious moral and reputational losses suffered by Mr. Massa, his lawyers went on to say. Massa sought legal advice, and after Formula One Supremo Bernie Ecclestone was quoted in March saying he and former FIA President Max Mosley knew in 2008 that then Renault driver Nelson Piquet's crash was deliberate but had not acted. An FIA spokesperson said that the governing body acknowledged the receipt of correspondence from Massa's representatives and added, "The matter is under review and we will not be providing a comment at this stage." Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports. Here for some breaking news. Haas have decided to retain Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg as their drivers for 2024. Haas have opted for continuity next season as they announced Nico Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen will continue to race for them for a second successive season in 2024. Hülkenberg has been impressive on his full-time racing return to Formula One this year. The German reached Q3 6 times in 12 races and scoring the team's best finish, 7th in the Australian Grand Prix. Magnussen has scored 2 of the team's 3-point finishes, a brace of 10th places in Saudi Arabia and Miami in his 6th season with Haas. Between them, they have 346 Grand Prix starts, and it is the experience that Haas will hope can take the team to the next level. The American squad currently sits 8th in the Constructors' Championship, which is the same position where they finished in last year's championship. They'll be hoping that retaining these 2 new drivers for next season will help them to be able to improve their car as well as finish higher up in the standings. I think it is safe to say that we've had an extremely solid driver pairing this season in Formula One, and ultimately there was no reason to look to change that moving forward, said team principal Günther Steiner. Kevin is obviously a very well-known quantity to us, and I'm delighted he'll return for what will be his 7th season in Haas colours. With 113 starts for our team alone, we know where his strengths lie, and his knowledge, as well as experience of our organisation, pairs very well with that too. On the other side of the garage, Nico's simply slotted in without fuss or fanfare and proved himself to be a valuable member of the team. He's approaching 200 starts in Formula 1, and we're very happy to be the beneficiary of that experience behind the wheel. We've had to tackle our issues this season with regards to the VF23, we don't hide from that. But we've been extremely fortunate to have two drivers whose feedback is invaluable in assisting our engineering objectives. We'll be certainly watching these two drivers as they continue to drive for the Haas outfit in 2024. Welcome to Zandvoort, the home of the Dutch Grand Prix. This circuit provides a challenge for the Formula One drivers, as it is one of the more technical circuits on the calendar. With its long main straight, undulating elevation, and high banked corners. The circuit is made up of 14 corners and 2 DRS zones. This weekend, we could see Max Verstappen equaling Sebastian Vettel's 9 consecutive race win record in front of his home crowd. Ride on board now with Verstappen as he takes you around his home circuit. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Formula One content, and we hope you'll join us for our coverage of the Dutch Grand Prix. Is rain set to interrupt another Formula One weekend? Rain has impacted every race weekend since the Miami Grand Prix in May. Is the same set to happen again in Zandvoort? The last time a Formula One weekend took place without rain interrupting it was the Miami Grand Prix in May, and it looks like that could continue this race weekend. Mixed weather is predicted for the 13th race of this season at Zandvoort, with the biggest threats on Friday and Saturday. With thanks to our friends at weareonline.nl, here's the current weather forecast for the 2023 Formula One Dutch Grand Prix. Friday and Saturday have the biggest rain threats, with Friday afternoon being set to see showers as wind blows in from the west to the northwest, with a chance of thunderstorms being around 5%. Temperatures will range from 20 to 22 degrees centigrade, with an overcast day that will see occasional sunshine. On Saturday, there's also a chance of showers, with the threat a lot higher for the third practice session, with 40% being predicted compared to qualifying with 35% being predicted, with the thunderstorms still a chance in the evening. The uncertainty in the weather forecast continues with around a 40% chance of rain set for the morning of the race day, although systems predict that it could still impact the race. So, once again, another Formula One race weekend being impacted by the weather. This could be interesting as, of course, the Dutch Grand Prix is set right on the beach, so it does often get affected by the rain. Not only by the rain, but also by the wind. We see how the drivers and cars get very unsettled by the gusting winds here, because, of course, it is set right next to the beach, and it is understandable to get rain and gusting winds when you are right next to the beach. Yes, going to be interesting. Hopefully we don't get the weather interrupting the sessions all that much this weekend, but it could still be a bit of an unknown. Nonetheless, though, hopefully it doesn't impact racing all that much, and we should be able to get running in every session this race weekend.
Capture. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Motorsports. You're joined by Reese and myself, Mark. Of course, we're here for qualifying, which is going to get going in just a little bit. 14 minutes to go until we start that now. And we're looking at the weather here. It is raining still, so it was had some more rain since the practice session earlier. So, what are we expecting to see here in this qualifying session, here, Reese?
Well, for all you say it's raining, there is a big clear patch overhead, and Yeah, hopefully we will get some dry running, but it does look like there are some weather systems that are moving towards the track. Whether those will hit the track and turn it into another wet session, we will see. The track does still look a little bit wet. Dutch fans, though, they don't care. They're all very, very excited for this qualifying session to get underway.
Indeed, I'm just changing the title there just to make it that we are now in the qualifying session. So, F1 qualifying here in the Dutch Grand Prix, Zandvoort, of course, Max Verstappen's home Grand Prix. Now, in the third practice session, which was wet, which is more accurate to what we're going to see in this qualifying session, in the third practice session, we saw Verstappen come on top of everybody else in terms of timing boards. He got a 121.6, Russell a 122.0. So Russell and Verstappen were quite a distance away from the rest, where Perez through to Piastri was only separated by 0.3 seconds. So it's going to be all to race for in this qualifying session.
Yes, I think it's going to be a difficult qualifying session, especially up at the top, with a lot of teams being very, very closely matched at the moment. They're able to get quite close to each other in terms of their qualifying pace. We saw that in that last session this morning, and I mean, the McLarens look like they're quite fast. The Mercedes look like they could have some pace, as well as possibly the Aston Martin of, I say Aston Martin, not Aston Martins, because I don't think Lance Stroll necessarily has pace in qualifying, but the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso certainly has a little bit of qualifying pace under his sleeve.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think all eyes will also be on Fernando Alonso. Let's see how the Aston Martin's upgrades have fared. Lance Stroll didn't do very well in practice 3, coming all the way down in 17th. There's also, of course, a debut qualifying for Liam Lawson, who's been called in last minute due to Daniel Ricciardo's broken hand. So, do you think he's going to have a rather terrible qualifying session? I don't think it's going to be great for him, but I can't really blame him for it.
Well, no, I don't expect much from him. Of course, he's only had a single session in the car, and it's been a wet session, so you don't really get to grips with the car properly. Yeah, it's going to be difficult for him today, but nonetheless, he, I think, just takes it on the chin, accepts that it's a learning session rather than a qualifying session for himself, and I expect he will be out in Quali 1.
Yeah, probably will be out in Quali 1, which is going to be disappointing for him. I'm sure he'll think it's disappointing, but otherwise, you know what, it's the first time. He can't be taking it too seriously, I think. You know, obviously it's a very serious sport, but I'm saying, you know, don't be hard on yourself for it. You've come in last minute and not as prepared as you probably would have liked to have due to that thing. But that's why you are a reserve driver. So Liam Lawson getting his chance now to show his stuff, and I'm sure he'll try to grab the opportunity with both hands and do very well with it.
Yes, the sun is now shining in the paddock, so the first time, I think today, it is finally shining in the paddock. We'll see whether that will carry on for the next hour or so. I doubt it, unfortunately. Our radar does say it is raining there on the track, but hopefully we will get some dry running, maybe in Quali 3. I highly doubt it, though. There's some massive clouds overhead.
Yeah, indeed. It's exactly that. The clouds overhead are looking like it's going to prove to be raining the whole time. You see orange flares already in the background. How much is that going to affect this weekend as well?
They were told not to bring them at all this race, but yeah, they seem to have ignored those rules that they weren't allowed to bring them in at all, and they've just gone and done it anyways.
That's exactly that. So we are just 10 minutes away from the start of qualifying, and well, let's try and predict now our first 5 drivers that will be eliminated.
Yes, well, I think, of course, Liam Lawson is going to be eliminated because of that. Unfortunate. He's been brought in at the last second. But yeah, we'll see what he is able to do. And hopefully he can just get his car into Quali 2. I doubt it, but... So I'm going to say Liam Lawson will be out in Quali 1. I'm going to say Zhou Guanyu. Who else? The 2 Haas's, I think. Maybe Magnus, or maybe Hulkenberg might get out. And then I'll say Bottas as well.
Okay, so that's...
Oh, actually, no, sorry. I'm going to say Bottas and Hulkenberg get out of Quali 1, but maybe Sargent won't get out and Stroll won't get out. So that's my bottom 5 there.
Well, my bottom 5 is going to be a little bit similar. I'm going to say Magnussen. I'm going to say Guan Yu Zhou. I'm definitely going to say Liam Lawson. I'm going to say Tsunoda, I reckon, won't actually get out. And I think perhaps then... I'm probably going to still go with Bottas as much as he did relatively decently in the practice 3. I still think those Alfa Romeos are going to struggle a little bit. I'm going to say both Alfa Romeos do go out in the beginning. And Sargent will also probably be there. I think I did say him though. But yeah, so let us know in the comments, who do you think is going to drop out of the session here? Yeah, I mean, it's certainly going to be an interesting one. We're very much looking forward to the top 10, I think, because that's going to be very, very close.
Yes, I think the top 10, especially in Quali 3, is going to be the closest qualifying session for sure. We'll have to wait and see what happens, of course. Max Verstappen currently getting ready to get into his car. 8 minutes and 40 seconds left to go until qualifying gets underway. He looks quite calm and relaxed at the moment. So, yeah, he still looks quite happy with the ramp up towards qualifying in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, so, I mean, Max Verstappen's home Grand Prix, he should certainly be favourites. Now, Russell did very well in practice earlier. Is that going to be an early indicator to him, possibly putting a bit of a spanner in the works in terms of maybe qualifying right near the top, right next to him, and maybe causing a bit of problems in the race tomorrow?
I don't know. I don't think so. He hasn't had the qualifying pace this season. I think everyone may just find a bit more pace than what they had in FP3. I'd like him to make some gains, but I don't necessarily think he's going to be able to challenge for the top 5.
Okay, not challenging for the top 5. I don't think he'll like to hear that, but of course, we'll see what happens in the session. We've got just about 7 minutes left until we get going with the session. So let us know in the comments, who do you think are going to be eliminated in the first thing here? F123 has gone and said that K-Mag, DNF? Who's DNF? I don't know. Unless he's saying K-Mag do not finish. Yes. Okay, that's what he's saying. Stroll, Ocon, Lawson, and Zhou will all be the ones knocked out in the first session. Probably relatively decent guess. The fact that you're going to say Kevin Magnussen will go and crash out in the qualifying session is a bit of an ask. I think we might well have somebody.
He crashed out on not even a warm-up lap. He crashed out on his out lap in FP3 this morning. So, I mean, that's not a bad shout, to be very honest. F123 with his predictions there, saying K-Mag will DNF, Stroll, Ocon, Lawson, and Zhou is his 1, 2, 3, 4, his bottom 5. I was just making sure.
No, that's why I was confused by the DNF, because I was like, is that the 5th name? No, that's just another one there. So, Stroll is also another interesting name that he's put in the bottom 5. Then probably not too wrong. He's not been doing very well this weekend. Yeah, so we'll see if Stroll is there. He's in a much better car than most of the others in that sort of era there, but his driving ability is certainly going to be called into question with regards to that. So if you guys are joining us, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button right now. This is our dedicated motorsports channel, which is very much getting going just in the past couple of weeks. We're really trying to rapidly grow this channel, so help us get to 1,000 subscribers as quickly as possible. Share with your friends, as Reese would say, your cats, your dogs, your fish, your everything else, and let's get all of us on board for this fantastic community here. And right now, what you can do to certainly also help us do that is hit that like button. Let's get those likes up to 50 as quickly as possible, as qualifying is just over 5 minutes left until then. Holly asking, is there rain? Yes, there is rain right now, but it's quite light, so it should be intermediate conditions probably.
Yes, for the moment, it's looking like maybe people will go out on a set of hards, or not hards, on a set of full wets first to clear all that standing water, and then normally they get going on a set of intermediates from then on. It's normally the safer option to go out on a set of full wets first to see what the track conditions are, and then, of course, once you feel a little bit more comfortable, then you can go on to the intermediates. Intermediates seem to be quite fast, though, during that FP3 session. Max Verstappen doing a 1:21, if I remember correctly. It was about that. It was either 1:21 or 1:22 at the end. But yes, should be a very, very competitive session ahead of us.
Yeah, that's exactly that. And just having a calendar notification as we've just hit 100 viewers. So let's keep it climbing, guys. Hit that like button right now. And welcome to the stream if you're new. Let us know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to know where you guys are watching from. And who do you back for this weekend? And go participate in the poll as well, which is certainly going to be indicative of your thoughts as well. F123 also commenting and saying, hope Liam doesn't crash. Are you agree?
Well, I think he's been quite cautious through that FP3 session. This is going to be the first time he actually pushes that car in anger. So we'll see what he's able to do. Hopefully he keeps it clean, because I'm sure the Red Bull and AlphaTauri team don't want another crash this weekend. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens though. We have less than 5 minutes now left to get going until qualifying gets underway. We have the Formula 1 titles rolling. So we have just a few minutes left to go until we get qualifying underway. Please do be sure to hit the like button, as Mark has said, and be sure to subscribe to this channel if you want to be updated on all things Formula 1 and motorsport related. This is going to be the channel where I spend a lot of time informing you all with my daily Formula 1 news shows at 10 o'clock every morning, as well as throughout the day I upload some breaking news stories and anything else Formula 1 and motorsport related.
So let's have some facts about Zandvoort. This is round 14 in the 2023 season. It's another race in Europe, of course, in the Netherlands. Looking at the track, so we have a track distance of 4.259 kilometers, full throttle spent at 58.34%. Track record is a 1.08. Top speed, 327 kilometers in the dry. Turns, there are 14, and an elevation of just 8.65 meters, as it is right on the beach there, based in the dunes, basically. The tyre compounds, Reese.
The tyre compounds for this race weekend, of course, you've got your full wet, your intermediates, and then the dry running tyres are your C3, your C2, and your C1 being the hardest. It is quite a hard set of tyres this weekend. Whether we'll even get to run on those today or in the race, that is quite unlikely because it does still look quite wet out there. There's another rain system moving overhead. It is currently 16 degrees Celsius, air temperature 22 degrees Celsius, track temperature with a humidity of 86%. And there is that rainstorm moving ever so slowly closer to the track. Hopefully it stays where it is at the moment, but even if it does, there is still quite a lot of standing water out on track. So it will take a few laps to get going until the track is dry for dry weather tyres. Whether we'll even get onto those, we'll have to wait and see. The current track temperature with 22 degrees Celsius is still very, very low. So it may take a couple of laps with them on dry tyres to get those tyres up to temperature if we even get conditions that allow dry running tyres today.
Yeah, indeed. And just looking at the track right now, it's actually looking a little bit dry, and there's a bit of sun being shown on the track. So it's not raining currently, it's just cloudy, but as we said, there's a weather system moving in. So I'm sure we're going to see cars try to get to the end of the pit lane as quickly as possible because it's going to be a bit dry at the beginning of the session. And as much as weather does impede our ability to see the true pace of a lot of these cars, what it does do is make it very exciting because you see completely different cars make it through qualifying and others that don't because the weather significantly affects them. You can already see that there are 6 cars at the end of the pit lane well before the start of the qualifying session here. Just a minute left to go. So still with a minute, a whole lot of cars have made their way to the end of the pit lane, getting ready to go and do it before that weather storm gets onto the track.
Yes, exactly. People will try to get a banker lap in as quickly as possible, just in case that rain does make its way over the circuit again. You would like to have the banker lap in, and those 6 drivers already waiting to get going. Their engines will be stopped at the end of the pit lane until that green light is released in under a minute now.
Yes, indeed. And we're looking now at Charles Leclerc. He's got 99 points in the Drivers' Championship, currently sits 5th. What do you think he's going to do this weekend?
I don't know. I think Charles Leclerc, it's a bit of an ask for him this race weekend because unfortunately he does have an ear infection, and that could affect his balance. We've seen how he's had multiple lockups already this race weekend. Hopefully he's going to be all right. He's had to drive all the way from, as he says, the south of France, Monaco, all the way to the Netherlands, which is a 14 to 15 hour drive, which, I mean, from that already he'll be exhausted. Hopefully someone would have done the drive for him. But yeah, hopefully that will not affect his balance today, and he can hopefully have a good qualifying session. They showed that they did have some pace at the end of FP3, but whether that's pace enough to get on the top step of the podium, I don't necessarily know just yet.
Yeah, we're just about to get going with the first qualifying session here. Max Verstappen looking very calm and collected in his Red Bull racing car, that number 1 shining there. And you can see all these cars out on the grid. There's Sergio Perez has already joined them before Max Verstappen's got out. So Max Verstappen just waiting as long as possible. So the opposite to what we've seen from him for quite a few races, as I think we're about to get that green light, and we have just got the green light. Q1 is underway.
Yes, qualifying 1 session is underway. Thank you very much to all of you who have been hitting that subscribe button to this new channel. Please do be sure to hit it if you want to get notified when we go live for race weekends, as well as when I upload lots of Formula 1 news and content. 215 of you are subscribed at the moment. Let's get that number up a lot more, though, before the end of this race weekend.
Yeah, so Albon is leading out the entire pack. Here's the first one out there. He's on intermediate tires. So everybody seems to be on the intermediate tires. They're going to try and make those work for qualifying. And let's see, a whole lot of cars making their way out into grid now. Albon, Sargent is there as well. I think both Mercs are there and Alfa Romeo, it looks like, possibly some Ferraris as well. We'll see every single car pretty much. It's going to be a very, very busy track straight away as everybody tries to get in some laps before that weather system hits.
We now see the Ferraris making their way to the end of that pit lane. Not as much spray being kicked up by the cars as I thought there would be, so it is quite dry out there. Hopefully there will be a dry line forming very quickly, and we could see some dry tires being put on by some of these teams. Whether that rain system makes its way over the track again and upsets all the teams, that will be we'll have to wait and see whether that does happen. It is sunny though over the track at the moment. Max Verstappen will be loving that though, because it means that he's able to see every single one of those fans sitting out in the grandstands, and there is a lot of them for sure out there.
Yeah, so Max Verstappen completely contradicting what he's been doing for the second half of that first half of the season, where he decided he wouldn't be caught out again by going out very early and getting some banker laps. And he's going out late today. He's literally being overtaken already as Albon starts the first fast lap of the day. So he's coming out in between all of them, and he's going to try and find a gap there for him to start his fast lap. So we'll see how that goes.
Yes, we'll see how that works here today. Max Verstappen making his way round turn 3 now at the moment. That is where we saw Daniel Ricciardo crash out in FP2 yesterday. Unfortunately, he has broken his hand, so he will not be participating in any of the sessions this race weekend. Very disappointing to have Danny Rick out, but it is unfortunately what happens in Formula 1 at times because, yeah, it is a very tricky circuit. He was avoiding a crash there with, I think it was Oscar Piastri yesterday, and unfortunately, yeah, he just lost it and ended up in the wall in turn 3. And he has broken his metacarpal on his hand. Very disappointing, but nonetheless, glad that Daniel Ricciardo is all right, and we should have him hopefully making his way back to Formula 1 in the next few weeks, because he has got one of the absolute best surgeons. He's flown across to Barcelona today already to go and see one of the MotoGP surgeons who does all of their surgeries, and they normally are able to get back on the bike within weeks. So hopefully that will be some good news for Daniel Ricciardo in the next few weeks.
Yeah, we'd love to, of course, see him back before the end of the season. Of course, just coming back into Formula 1 as Albon sets our first fast time of the day, a 1:31.3, which has already been beaten by his teammate Logan Sargent, a 1:29.5. So quite a bit quicker than Albon. So I think this track is going to, it's completely changing. As we get more cars going around, every single car is on the track right now. So Hamilton is going around as well, just finishing up his lap here to see what sort of time he puts in. He moves himself into only second place as Bottas has gone quickest with a 1:26 dead. And yeah, I mean, Reece, take us through this.
Yes, just watching a replay of Alex Albon at the moment. This is why he was quite far behind his teammates in terms of time. He locked up in turn 11 and had to cut the chicane into turn 12. Getting a little bit of gravel on his tyres. Hopefully he would have been able to slow down there and just set up another hot lap. Ooh. We're seeing, I think that's a Haas into turn 1. Yes, it is a Haas into turn 1. I think that may be Hulkenberg. And now watching Max Verstappen as well coming into turn 1. Does he also have a lock up here? Just watching it. Yes, he does. He has a big snap of oversteer. Goes into the gravel. Lucky to keep it going. And he's back onto that runoff zone. Just waiting for these drivers to start some more fast laps. Oscar Piastri now goes fastest with a 1:15.4. Let's see what he'll be able to do throughout the rest of the session today.
Yeah, Piastri, as I say, currently number 1, 125.4. So currently leads the pack in this.
Sargent, though, beats that with a 1:24.7. Very interesting to see Logan Sargent finding some great pace out here on track.
Yeah, I think the track is evolving very quickly. So the later you get these laps in, we're going to see these times tumble slowly but surely. Verstappen on the radio saying, mate, what is going on with the car? I have no grip. I'm spinning everything everywhere. So some early problems for Max Verstappen at his home race.
Possibly just struggling with some tyre temperature, struggling to get it up to temperature, as he's now being caught by someone behind him. Oh, hopefully he doesn't get in the way there. I think that may be an Alfa Romeo starting a hot lap, and now he's starting his hot lap with Hamilton in front of him. That's not going to make him very happy at all.
Well, you could try and follow him and see if you can get a bit of drag there, but it's going to be a bit more of a...
backed off.
Yeah, you see, the spray is going to prove a problem. Has he backed off?
Yes.
Yes, he has. Yeah, he has indeed backed off.
Norris
now
goes fastest with a 1:23.2, 1.5 seconds up on Logan Sargent's fastest time at the moment. As you said earlier, this track is evolving incredibly quickly. We have Albon on a hot lap, fastest first sector by him. Also a purple mini sector in the third sector. Let's see what he's able to do. 0.4 down on Norris's time, but much better from Alex Albon on this qualifying attempt. Not cutting that chicane in turn 11 and 12, making his way through that final banked corner now through turn 13, where we saw Zhou Guanyu end up in the gravel last time out, and then they decide to cut away from him, of course.
The Trent Holly just saying, is track limits ever a problem here? Not usually. Though
because if you go over track limits here, you're going to end up in the gravel.
Exactly that. So people try not to extend the track limits too much here. It's very much a cautious track. It's very easy to spin out in this track, as we have seen in all the sessions so far this weekend. And we've already seen a couple of cars go off in this first qualifying session, which still has 11 minutes and 40 seconds left.
Sergio Perez on a fly at the moment. Fastest first sector of all right now. Let's see what he's able to do throughout the rest of this lap. Charles Leclerc also starting himself in the hot lap. He's quite far up in that first sector, 500ths up on Lando Norris's fastest time at the moment. He should be able to pick up a lot more time than that. Sergio Perez only 0.2 up in the middle sector, so Leclerc got a chunk full of time up on Sergio Perez right now. Sergio Perez will take that pole position, and then Charles Leclerc, who is really storming behind, should be able to take that quite comfortably.
Now, let's see if Perez does actually get that pole position. I'm not sure he's going to be quick enough. He's coming round here. Is he going to beat Norris this time? I don't think he is. And he goes just a little bit slower. He goes into second place. But Leclerc is coming ever so quickly. Let's see how he fares. Although
he's lost his
I
first
think he's
fastest
lost
sector
his
to
first.
Russell.
Oh,
and he has a big snap this year coming through turn 12. Coming through that final banked corner now through turn 13. Oh, another snap of oversteer through turn 14 now. It just shows how tricky this track still is. It is drying out. DRS zone now won't be opened because it is still wet. Crosses the line. He goes into first, even with all of those moments. Faster than his teammate Sainz, who has made it into second.
And again, he had to, after finishing his fast lap, dives off in that first corner. Doesn't manage to make it stick. So he clearly just late on the brakes there again. Hamilton, though, is setting a brilliant time there. Down in 19th position. He's got the purple first sector and he's improved the second sector very well. This could be a new fastest lap here.
What can Stroll do now? He crosses the line. He goes up into fourth, waiting on Russell as well, who's finishing up his lap. Russell goes fastest with a 122.9, 0.16 up on Charles Leclerc as Alonso now takes provisional pole for Quali 1.
Yeah, Alonso still got a lot of time left here as Hamilton goes into third fastest, so he lost some time in that third sector, but fantastic lap there from Alonso. And now Max Verstappen goes quickest. Only just Alonso so close to his time, 0.007.
Norris, though, is up in that middle sector. What can he do now? He's getting a good slipstream from Zhou Guanyu in front of him. He goes and takes away that pole from Max Verstappen by quite a margin.
And now look at
300ths
this.
up.
Albon
Piastri is also on a hot lap. Albon's fastest in the first sector. These times are tumbling so quickly. Albon is very wide, though. He actually goes over the grass there in that middle sector. Oscar Piastri's up in the middle sector. Albon is coming through that middle sector marker now. What can he do? He's 0.3 down on Lando Norris's time. Now, Oscar Piastri is coming through that final banked corner. What can he do? Let's see what lap time he's able to put in. Will he be able to take away that fastest time from Lando Norris? He comes across the line now, and he does take it away from Lando Norris with a 1:22.059. Brilliant from Oscar Piastri. I said he would be on form here today, and he's certainly doing it already in this session. Albon puts himself ahead of Max Verstappen into third. We see how quickly this track is evolving.
Yeah, indeed. So we can't take these, we can't count chickens until they've hatched, unfortunately. We're looking at the times here. Piastri currently sits on top, but we've still got lots of time left. Max Verstappen finishing up his lap here. He's got new personal bests in all both first sectors here. Let's see if he gets a better third sector. He's usually very quick in the third sector. Here he comes across the line and a little bit slower, only into fourth. Still slower than Albon, Norris and Piastri. Though still lots of time left, and I'm sure we're going to see these times tumble as Lawson is now improving his times upon Magnussen. Lawson sitting right at the back of the grid. Not the greatest start for qualifying for Liam Lawson, of course. But let's see if he manages to break himself out of those bottom five. Right now, it's Lawson, Gasly, Sargent, Magnussen, and Bottas. Lawson...
Tsunoda moves himself up into 11th now with that AlphaTauri machine, as Perez now puts himself in between the two McLarens, up in second with 122.296.
Lawson not having the best of times, still not able to get out of that elimination zone, only moves himself into 16th position, so he looks like he's going to have an early elimination here. Sainz now coming down the main start-finish straight. Where does he put himself? All the way up at 7th, not the greatest run from him, but Russell's got a first sector. It's purple that's been taken away already by Lando Norris. So, yeah, I mean, it's just tumbling times right now. It's just 7 minutes and 35 seconds left.
Do not dare to jump into the pits right now because this track is evolving so quickly. There's 7 minutes and 30 seconds left of the session, but it is all still to play for. We do not know who is going to be eliminated. Gasly, Sargent, Magnussen, Bottas, and Lawson currently in that bottom
Alonso
elimination
is
zone.
so close to Piastri's time. Sorry, Reese, just seeing here, he's literally right on his time. So if he manages to get this last sector absolutely nailed, he will move into provisional pole.
Gasly being told we're expecting rain in about 5 minutes. Russell goes provisional pole for now with the 122.052.007 up on Piastri's time. We now have Alonso crossing the line. He only puts himself up into 5th. Norris is on a very hot lap coming out that banked section. He is approaching that start finish line. He crosses and goes even faster. 600ths up on George Russell.
Yeah, indeed. Normal qualifying format, for those asking in the comments, it's a normal qualifying format, Q1, Q2, Q3, pretty much going to be running inters and the entire time, as we do see rain is coming in just about 5 minutes, which is right at the end of this Q1 here. Right now, let's look at the danger zone in terms of the major names. Leclerc, Hamilton, Sainz, not looking very safe right now, though the rest of the big names pretty much set. Verstappen all the way down in 7th at the moment as well.
He is still out on track, though. I would expect him. He is on a hot lap. As I say that, I was going to say I expect him to go on another hot lap, and he is setting those timing boards alight yet again. But so is Oscar Piastri in that middle sector. He's got a purple middle sector at the moment, doing personal best in the final sector. Leclerc coming through that final sector now, exiting that banked corner. He moves quite close to the inside to cool down his tyres, and he finishes up in P4.
Yeah, indeed. Not a bad lap time from him at all. The Verstappen is going...
Piastri. Sorry, Mark.
No.
Piastri goes even faster with a 121.2. Now, George Russell crosses the line, puts himself up into 3rd, but Verstappen is also on a bit of a fly at the moment. Ocon moves himself out of that bottom elimination zone into 12th place. Gasly also puts himself up into 9th. Alonso finishes the lap, puts himself up into 4th. Max Verstappen now coming across the line. Where does he put himself? He puts himself comfortably into 1st.
The McLarens are not that far away from Verstappen, though, so it's great to see these two McLarens doing very well. I do enjoy the comment here. I just want to just go note from Jeffrey saying, you know, the Brits are used to it. So, indeed, so Piastri and, Norris and Russell doing very well so far, both of them British, of course. Piastri, though, the Australian, competing very much with Verstappen.
Andrew Crozier, one of our regulars here, asking, have we ditched the hard, medium, soft format for quali 1, 2, and 3? Yes, we have. It was purely a test format that we used for a single race weekend, and we are back to the normal format now. People can use whatever tyres they want. Hamilton saying he got blocked. I don't think so. He got a nice slipstream there. Saying he got blocked was a bit of a overreaction. Oscar Piastri, watching a moment from him. He got blocked. That is getting blocked. He got blocked by Carlos Sainz there. That should be a penalty for Carlos Sainz for sure.
They actually did very well to stay out of the way then. As you say, it's coming around. I think this is the last corner.
This is the first corner.
First corner. Coming out of the pits is Sainz, and Sainz gets in the way of Piastri, comes right into his racing line.
That is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous from Carlos Sainz. He will get a penalty for that. I'm calling it right now. He comes straight out of the pits and moves over onto the racing line. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, Piastri, his lap there, unfortunately, rather ruined by Sainz there. And just watching a moment here from Max Verstappen.
On his push lap.
Yeah. And still managed to go quickest. Although, I think Albon is doing something very magical in the background here. Let's see what Albon can do. Race Control has noted that incident involving Hamilton and Stroll for impeding. I don't think that's going to result in anything. As Albon does go quickest.
What is going on here today? It just shows how quickly this track is evolving. Magnussen now comes across the line. He gets himself out of that bottom 5. This could be crucial because we could have some rain moving it over in the last few minutes of this qualifying session. Sargent moves himself up now into 6th place, as I think Max Verstappen starts another hot lap.
Indeed, and it's pretty much as we predicted right now. The Alpha Tauri's, the Alfa Romeos, and the Haas is the ones very much in danger, though Hamilton is also sitting in 15th right now with just 3 minutes left. Russell's got a first sector that is purple now, so let's follow his lap as well. And if you guys are joining us, we've got almost 350 viewers. Hit that like button right now for your favorite driver to get through. And then, of course, hit that subscribe button as well.
Russell ever so slightly up in that middle sector. Will he be able to take that fastest lap time now? As he crosses the line, that shows goes across the line with the 122.1. Yeah, I got a little bit too excited there, but we should have him crossing the line quite soon. We have race control, turn 1 incident involving car 81 Piastri and 55 Sainz noted for forcing another driver.
Russell messed up his last sector big time. Unfortunately, he did not improve upon his time, messed up that last sector. Very disappointing for him. Yuki Tsunoda moves into 6th. Great little lap there from him.
Verstappen finishes up and does not go faster than Albon.
I'll tell you something. Albon is doing magical things yet again. Gasly moves into 6th now. Great little run from him. Magnussen now finishing up his lap. Where's he going to put himself? Currently sits in 17th. Driver at risk, of course, is Sainz right now. Magnussen is going to move into 11th position.
My words then, I guess. He goes up to 11th. Hulkenberg also on a hot lap. Sainz on a hot lap. Perez puts himself up into 7th. What can Hulkenberg do throughout the rest of this lap? I'm quite surprised that we haven't had any yellow flags or red flags yet this session, especially in a wet session. Carlos Sainz not doing too bad in the first sector. Personal best, Lando Norris moves himself up now into 4th place with a 121.2, 0.3 down on Albon's fastest time. Sainz 0.1 down on Albon's time in that middle sector. Verstappen saying line
I was just going to note, we've got to be careful here. Hamilton and Sainz are very much in the danger zone, literally currently not making it into Q2, and the rain is just about to start falling. And
Hulkenberg moves himself up into 7th. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah.
After that next qualifying attempt.
So Sainz needs to do well here, and Hamilton as well, because the rain is about to set in. So I think we might see our fastest time. Sainz gets himself out very comfortably. Now Leclerc's been pushed into that elimination zone. Alonso also dangerously close.
Race control, turn 13 incident involving car 44 and Alonso noted for impeding. I didn't know there was a moment between those two. Yuki Tsunoda moves himself out of that bottom 5. That puts Leclerc in that bottom 5 point positions. We don't want to see him getting eliminated. Hamilton moves himself out. Hamilton's currently at risk. We've got 1 minute left. So if you cross the line, this is your last qualifying attempt. Hamilton now finishes
another minute.
Yeah. I'm saying if you finish a lap and have to do a warm down lap, that is you done pretty much. Lawson is unfortunately down in that last position. It is where we expected him to be. Zhou currently on a good lap for himself. Stroll crosses the line. He puts himself up to 7th.
Where's Alonso?
Exactly. Where's Alonso? He's
And
the driver at
Leclerc.
risk. Yeah, this is getting quite tense in the last few moments here.
Leclerc, I think he's just started a fast lap now, Leclerc. So let's see if he can get himself out. Alonso goes into 10th, so not too secure. Perez also down in 13th, not looking very, very good there either. Leclerc has started a new fast lap here, but the rain is starting to come down a little bit more, so could these times be beaten or not? It's going to be right down to the wire here. Don't go anywhere as we get to the end of the session. Just 15 seconds left before they cannot start another lap.
Yes, it is looking... Ooh, big slide there from Zhou Guanyu in that final sector. Or was that Valtteri Bottas? I don't know. They're both on the runs at the moment. It is Zhou with the green on his helmet. Zhou comes across the line now. Where does he put himself? Only 15.
I don't think it's enough.
Done from this first qualifying session. Bottas crosses the line. He only finishes in 18th. That's very interesting that Zhou qualifies or out-qualifies Valtteri Bottas. Leclerc is on a hot lap at the moment. He needs to have a really good lap here. Any mistakes, and that is him out of qualifying. What will he be able to do in this second and third sector? He's making his way towards that second sector marker. He's 0.004
just up on
that driver risk time. Yeah, he needs to have a very, very good final sector in order to keep himself out of that elimination zone.
The only good thing is that Zhou did have a bit of a moment in Sector 3, so if Leclerc doesn't have a moment, he should make it up. Oh, he makes the same mistake. He has the exact same moment. So will Leclerc make it out with the... let's see. He's coming down the start-finish straight. Does he move himself out of it? I think he will just... He does, into 14th position.
That is way too close for comfort. But there are multiple drivers still behind him on hot laps. We'll see whether that is the end or whether he is safe. Robert Schwartzman looking on, he just nods his head to go, well done. I guess you got yourself out of the bottom 5. That's not brilliant when your teammates all the way up in 5th.
I think that is pretty much the end of our session there. I don't think Magnussen's going to get quicker, and I don't think Zhou, of course, has another ability to go around. So we have confirmed our 5 drivers eliminated. Liam Lawson, his debut in F1, has started terribly, down in 20th position. Bottas in 19th, Magnussen 18, Ocon 17, and Zhou in 16. We've lost both Alfa Romeos, we've lost a Haas, an Alpine, and an AlphaTauri. Notably, though, Pierre Gasly right up there with Tsunoda as well. So the Aston Martin's also safe, both Ferraris safe, and both Williams safe on either end. Albon in first, and Sargent, the last one to make it through, in 15th. Albon, how's that for a time?
Yeah, very good time from Alex Albon, certainly showing that he has just a brilliant understanding of his car at the moment, and just really is a good talent in Formula One, because I think rain is the great equalizer. We've always said it. Everyone really says it, that rain is the great equalizer, and he's ahead of Max Verstappen as well as those 2 McLarens who have been so competitive in the wet.
Yeah, Alex Albon certainly putting up his hand for some major teams next year, because he's been doing so well.
Sargent and 15.
That's what I pointed out earlier. I was saying Sargent all the way down to 15th. So it just shows you the driving ability of Alex Albon there. Just reading all the comments, everybody very much getting involved with this and saying, so proud of Albon and Sargent. Looks like Hamilton is out. Well, he just made it in, as he says, so close for him. Perez also quite close to the end there, and so is Leclerc. So very dangerous for those two. Yeah, lots of regulars in the comments. Great to see you guys all back here. Please be sure to like the video right now. Hit that like button, and your favorite driver will likely make it into Q3. That's my little voodoo for the day.
Joffrey taking his second attempt at spelling Lando's name. Don't worry, I understand what you're talking about. And he asks here, do you think Lando will finish in 3rd or 4th at the end of the year? It's certainly possible because they're having a great turn of pace at the moment. Will they be able to challenge with the rest of the top teams? We'll have to wait and see what happens over the next couple of races. It's going to be a bit of a tall order for him to get himself a bit higher up in the Drivers' Championship, especially after the first half of the season where they didn't have all that much pace until around Spain after that. So we'll just have to wait and see what they're able to do.
So yeah, guys, if you guys are joining us for the first time on this channel, be sure to subscribe right now. Hit that subscribe button.
There's only 215 of you subscribed to this channel. Be sure to hit the subscribe button a lot more as Mark hits his knee on the desk.
I was about to say, hit that subscribe button just like I hit my foot on the desk here. Yeah, let's keep those likes coming in. They're suddenly rapidly coming in. Let's see if we can get to 50. We're so close to that there. And a whole lot of you guys watching. Don't go anywhere as Q2 is just around the corner.
Ren, you asking what you guys think about Hamilton's performance because it is not as good as expected. Well, I think the rain, of course, makes things a bit tricky here. His teammates certainly seem to be finding a lot more pace than himself. But I think we can't discount Hamilton all just yet because he does normally have some great qualifying pace, especially in the wet. I certainly don't want to discount him all just yet. Patrick Visser just saying Albon and Max in one team never will happen. Well, they were. They used to be teammates in Red Bull. And then, of course, Max Verstappen just completely outshone Albon. And unfortunately, they dropped him from that team after only 6 months. I think it was a bit too harsh for him because he was brought into that team halfway through the season. I think he should get another attempt at being that Red Bull second driver.
Exactly that. And I think he's certainly putting up his hand maybe to replace Carlos Sainz in that Ferrari position because, of course, Sainz is being heavily linked with the Audi car when they should come in. And that will leave a gap there for somebody else to fill. And I think Alex Albon would certainly relish the opportunity to go into that Ferrari seat. I know it's obviously maybe not as good as the Williams seat these days, you know, so we'll see if he takes it up. But obviously it's Ferrari. I'm sure Alex Albon might well be considered for that seat if Sainz should leave.
Thank you to Edward Lake for listening to all of our ramblings on and subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much. If you do subscribe to the channel and I get a notification of your name, I will read it out. So just all the more reason to subscribe to us. As well as, of course, we bring you a lot of Formula 1 based content and motorsports based content. Just waiting for this qualifying 2 session to get underway. It should not be all that long now until it does get light green for this session. But let us know who you were most surprised by in that qualifying 1 session. I mean, myself for sure was very much surprised by Alex Albon taking that number 1 spot.
Yeah, indeed, exactly that. And yeah, I mean, Verstappen was having a few problems there. I mean, sorted it out. But looking at Lewis Hamilton getting held up not once, but twice by 2 different Aston Martins, that time very much so. So that was, I think, Alonso, or was that the Stroll incident? I don't know. Was it Alonso? He said Alonso.
It was Alonso.
But the same board has come up saying the stewards are investigating Stroll and Hamilton. So, yeah, anyway. Just seeing now another replay of Kevin Magnussen missing that first corner again, like many drivers have done so far today. So very, very interesting. F123 saying Alex Albon was the surprising one. Patrick also saying Albon. Well, that's Patrick. That's just earlier
Max
comments.
Verstappen's already at the end of the pit lane, just waiting to get going here because he does not want to be caught out by any extra rain. He'll try and get a lap done. Oh, there's very dark clouds as we both kind of react to that. I mean, yeah, hopefully we don't get the rain impeding on the session all that much, but it does look like those clouds are very, very dark overhead. We won't talk about them too much. Hopefully we won't entice them. Thank you very much to Wayanda Mujula for taking that. I'm just seeing what you're doing here. For taking that comment and saying that you should subscribe and we'll read out your name. There you go. You get your name read out on chat. Thank you very much for subscribing to the channel. Mark has now put a comment saying he subscribes to the channel.
Damn right.
We have 322 of you watching alongside with us and only 217 of you subscribed. So do be sure to hit that subscribe button to get that ratio a little bit more to where we would like it to be.
Exactly. Just as we start Q2 now, what's going to happen in Q2? We're going to lose a big name driver. I can guarantee you that we've seen it pretty much every race so far this year. We have lost a big name driver in Q2. Who do you reckon it's going to be, Reese?
The one dropping out? Big name dropping out, you said. It's difficult. I think
I have a name in mind.
I have a name in mind too, but I don't want to see him eliminated because I'd like to see him further up. But off the basis of Q1, I'm going to say Leclerc.
Leclerc. Ooh, it's very interesting. My name, funny enough, is Perez. I think Perez is going to drop out. I just think that he's going to somehow mess up this session a little bit. I don't think Perez will get through yet again. And just because we keep talking about the Perez revival in the season, and every single time he's supposed to, he starts very far down. But then obviously does well in the race, so it's not too bad. But I reckon Perez doesn't get there. Likes, we've just reached over 50 likes. Thank you very much for that, guys. Let's keep it going. Let's get to 60 and then 70 and onwards, of course. So let's see what happens there.
Yes, our track map, you can finally see people going around because the session has gone green. Just looking at the moment at the track dominance between Albon and Verstappen. Albon is faster down all the long straights, really. Max Verstappen a little bit more dominant throughout some of the more technical sectors of this track. Max Verstappen is currently out on track. He has not started his hot lap just yet, but he is ramping up now, coming through that final sector. He's backing up, giving himself a bit of space to Sargent ahead of him, and then he will get going.
Indeed, yeah. So let's see what happens. And we're reckoning Leclerc or Perez could be danger men here. Also, Hamilton.
You reckon Perez, I reckon Leclerc.
Yeah, but Hamilton also was very close to getting eliminated in that previous session here. Now, I think the rain is going to have a bit more of an effect in this Q2 than it was in Q1 because we only had it right near the end here, but the clouds are right over the track now as Verstappen starts the first hot lap of Q2 with just 13 minutes left.
Andrew Crozier saying it's chucking it down with rain in England right now. We could very well get the same thing in Zandvoort quite shortly. Max Verstappen starting his hot lap to try and get a clean lap in before that rain system does make its way throughout there. Turn 13 incidents involving Hamilton and Alonso reviewed and no further investigation necessary for impeding there. I think it was a bit unfortunate. Alonso got caught up by a lot of traffic, and then that, of course, affected Hamilton's lap, of course, as well. Verstappen now through that first sector with a 29.071. Sargent has set the fastest middle sector right now. Max Verstappen, though, seconding those mini sectors are light. George Russell with a few mini sectors, Sainz with a few mini sectors being purple, but not able to match Verstappen's first sector at the moment. Perez not able to match Verstappen's first sector either.
Yeah, I think just going back to that Alonso incident, I think also one of the main reasons why there was no further investigations because Hamilton did get through to the next session as well. So no real harm done. So they're not going to try and impede on other drivers because of that. They're trying to make it as fair as possible for everyone to race.
Sorry, Verstappen with a bit of oversteer coming through turn 12, now making his way through turn 13 and 14. A little bit of a correction into 13, now making his way through that bank corner in 14. Coming down that long main straight. And he crosses the line and goes first quite comfortably with the 121.921. That will be his banker lap for this session. Hopefully, he will be able to hold on to that top spot. Perez goes behind Sargent. What? 125.0 for Sergio Perez on his hot lap. Russell goes 122.654 for second place. What is going on with Perez?
Well, I did say.
Hamilton goes behind Perez, though. Hamilton also in the 125.
And I said about him as well.
Sainz also 120. What is going on?
I think maybe the rain is having an effect.
124.4. I think it may be. You may be very right.
I think the rain is maybe having an effect here because we're just seeing all these
No,
times.
but Albon goes 122.6 up into third. 0.7 seconds off the back of Max Verstappen's fastest lap at the moment. Tsunoda goes up in sixth with a 124.3 ahead of Leclerc, Perez and Hamilton and Sainz. Norris only up into the 124.3s up in seventh right now. Piastri, no time set by him. But a big Max Verstappen even faster now.
Max Verstappen's going absolutely blitz around this track here. He's got purple sectors in Sector 1 and Sector 2 as he comes towards Sector 3. Sargent is about to put in the quickest lap of the day, though, just before Verstappen comes across the line. Here goes Sargent. Indeed, number 1, 121.7. Fantastic little drive there from Logan Sargent.
Is outperforming Stroll, Russell, Albon, Piastri, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, Norris, Leclerc, Perez, Hamilton, Sainz, Gasly, and Alonso.
Everybody.
What the hell?
Everybody. So Verstappen has just gone quickest, though. 120.0 1:29.69. It's the quickest lap of the day. So we're just watching a replay here of Pierre Gasly losing it, going very wide. Can't quite see which turn this is. I think it's possibly turn 3. I was about to say, just seeing the bank there, and then obviously going into that grass as well, and hitting that
floor damage. Yes,
comes
he's got
right
a
across
floor
the
damage
curves there. Luckily, not too much. It doesn't look to be.
In the middle of the floor on the barge boards, it may cause some damage there, because I did see that leading edge hit into those curbs. Oscar Piastri currently on a hot lap. What will he be able to do? He's up in the middle sector, 0.5 down on Max Verstappen's time though, but he could claw back at it in that final sector where he has shown he is quite competitive. Making his way through turn 13 now, and then we'll see what he is able to do in terms of pace. Hopefully he doesn't get caught out by this AlphaTauri ahead of him.
Maybe I think he's going to use it actually.
Let's see if that will impede on him. This is, I think, Yuki Tsunoda ahead of him. Oh, yeah, there's only one.
There goes Piastri using that very nicely and moves into second place there. Unfortunately, lost a bit of time in the first and third sectors there, but I think managed to make it up in that second sector there. Moves into second place ahead of Logan Sargent. Verstappen, Piastri, Sargent, our top 3 right now. I see we have hit 400 viewers. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button right now.
Katarina Vega saying I think some of the cars are set up for the wet, others are set up for a dry race. I certainly don't think so at the moment. I think that everyone is really set up for the wet, because it's supposed to be wet tomorrow as well. We are going to turn on subscriber only mode in the comments, so that you all have to subscribe to our channel. We want to see more of you subscribe to our channel, because we have a lot of exciting stuff being brought up throughout the rest of the year. We'd love to get more of you as well in our fan cams. Please do be sure to join our Discord as well. We have that, I think, in our comment section pinned at the top. Be sure to join that so we can at least get to know you all a little bit better and possibly get you in some live reaction shows in the future.
Indeed.
Max Verstappen currently leading the session, followed by Oscar Piastri, Stroll in 3rd and Alonso in 4th.
So currently right now, big names in the elimination zone, Norris and Sainz. Although having said that, I think we're about to see Norris move out of it as he crosses the line. He moves into the quickest position. He moves into first at 1:20.6. He beats Verstappen's time. And yet again, Norris has been challenging Verstappen all weekend. I cannot wait to see what happens tomorrow, because I think Norris has got a car that's as quick as the Red Bull right now.
Hamilton, fastest in the first sector. I think because of this sunshine currently shining over the track, it is drying out a little bit more before this rain system does make its way overhead. Hamilton, as we said already, finding quite a lot of pace out there on track. Let's see what he can do through the second and third sector. Leclerc also on a hot lap at the moment. What is his first sector at the moment? Just looking at 28.1 versus a 27.9 for Max Verstappen.
Yeah, so Leclerc needs to get a move on here.
Verstappen goes even faster with the 120.2. Sorry, Mark.
No,
but
I'm just laughing at it.
Once again, blitzing it out on track. Hamilton coming through the final corner now. He exits that banked corner. He crosses the line. Where does he put himself? Only up into 4th.
And here comes Hamilton, though, as he's coming down the start finish straight. Where did he go? That was Russell. Hamilton moves to 3rd, so 120.7, still behind McLaren and the Red Bull of Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. Leclerc now finishing up his lap as well as he's coming onto the start finish straight. Let's see where he goes. He went slower in the second sector, and I think this is going to be quite a slow lap time still, only up into 6th. Not brilliant from Leclerc.
Still out of that, at least, elimination zone. Perez currently in that elimination zone, alongside with Yuki Tsunoda, Nico Hülkenberg, Pierre Gasly, and Carlos Sainz. Not necessarily who I thought would be in those bottom 5s. Oscar Piastri up yet again in that middle sector, 0.5 down on Max Verstappen again. Let's see what he can do through this final sector.
Sainz is on the radio saying the track is drying super quickly. We need a new intermediate tyre right at the last lap. That's what Sainz is saying to the team. So we'll see whether or not the Ferrari team listen to their drivers, like they don't like to do.
No.
We'll see whether or not they do. But I think that's quite a brave call from Sainz. It's going to leave it right down to the last minute. But Piastri crosses the line, moves into 4th position.
Good lap time from Oscar Piastri, the rookie this season, currently behind Lewis Hamilton. Not very bad at all for himself. Let's see what Carlos Sainz and Nico Hülkenberg can do on their current laps right now.
Yeah, indeed. And guys, if you guys are joining us for the first time, let us know where you're watching from. We always love to know where everybody is tuning in from. We've got 56 likes. Let's get that up to 60, just 4 more. We just need 4 of you to hit that like button right now. And a few comments coming in. Jeffrey saying Lando will be P1. Well, I think that would certainly be interesting. He's been challenging Verstappen the entire weekend, so certainly possible. Sainz now coming into the 3rd sector here. He is up on Logan Sargent's time, so he should get out of the elimination zone. But where does he put himself with regards to the rest of the field? We'll find out now as he comes to that final banked turn now. And Hülkenberg is following it also, just about 4 seconds behind him. So we're going to see the Haas come across the line as well. Sainz now crosses the line with a 1:22. Ooh, quite slow. He messed up in that last sector, big time.
Doesn't improve his time at all.
No.
That was a 1:22.4. He's got 5 minutes left to improve on his lap time.
I think the track's too dry, maybe, because looking at this track, it's very dry in a lot of sectors here. It might even be worth risking it with a soft
I
tire.
don't think so. I think a soft might be a little bit too risky at this point. You might just end up in the barriers.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. It's still, there's a dry line, definitely, but there's too much wet around, perhaps. But I think these intermediate tires are perhaps losing time because they're not able to get them cooled down.
Yes, that's certainly one of the biggest problems with their intermediate tires because, of course, it has those grooves. Sorry, Sergio Perez is up, though, in that first sector.
Only on Sarge's time, only just. So not that much quicker. So that's why I say I think these intermediate tires are struggling now with this weather. So that's why Science is saying we need the intermediate tire fresh ones right near the end there because he basically wants them as cool as possible, perhaps.
Yes, precisely. He wants a set of tires with the most amount of grip on them as well. But as you say, this track has dried out a lot. We're not seeing spray being kicked up by these cars anymore. Maybe someone just ventures out on a set of softs.
We know one driver likes to do it, and that's, of course, Alex Albon. Would he try and do it again? I don't think he needs to.
Verstappen goes even faster. What is going on? Yeah. He goes almost a second faster than Lando Norris's time. Up in every sector except for the middle sector, he sets his fastest lap. Perez now coming through the final corner of that banked turn. He's got a little bit of a slipstream from the AlphaTauri ahead of him. He crosses the line and he moves himself up to second.
Okay, so we're still getting time here. It's not as bad. The intermediates are certainly still keeping their time, but just looking right now, Sainz is in the pits getting those new tires on. It's going to be a real difficult one for him. He's the major name currently in the relegation zone there. But Alex Albon, meanwhile, has set a purple sector. First sector is purple to Alex Albon. He's up almost 3.3 seconds up on Verstappen's time. He's motoring well.
I'm so impressed once again by Alex Albon. What will he be able to do through the second and third sector there? Coming through a little bit of water. Will he be able to set the second sector fastest yet again? Yuki Tsunoda also not putting together a bad lap right now. Pierre Gasly ever so slightly up on Alonso's time, which is the driver at risk right now. What can Alex Albon do though? He's coming close to that second sector mark, and now he's ever so slightly behind Max Verstappen, 0.035 down on Verstappen's time. This will put him in second place, though, very comfortably.
Yeah, come on, Albon, let's go. Maybe he makes up some time in the last sector and goes into first. He's right behind Verstappen's time, literally almost identical to it. Let's see where Alex Albon goes in this final sector. Is he going around the final back turn? He's motoring in that Williams. I cannot wait to see what this time is. As Albon crosses the line, and he goes fastest. What a boy. We love Alex Albon. It's my favorite driver on the grid at the moment. Absolutely adore this man.
He's taking a Williams.
Marry me.
Yuki Tsunoda goes third. Yuki Tsunoda goes up into third now behind Max Verstappen. Verstappen is in the pits. I think he's called it for the day, maybe.
That's a brave call. Let's see where Gasly goes. Not too bad there from Gasly. Let's see what Alonso and Russell can do as well following them. And yeah, let us know in the comments. How impressed are you with Alex Albon? I mean, brilliant. Russell moves to second. He goes quicker than Verstappen. So I don't think Verstappen can afford to stay there. Yeah, he's gone in for new tyres. So he's coming back out. Alonso moves into fourth. So great little run from Alonso there in that green machine. His teammate, though, Stroll, is currently in the relegation zone, as are both Ferraris.
520 of you watching alongside with us. Thank you very much for joining us. Please do be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can chat to us in the comment section and let us know your opinions, as well as let us know who you are backing for the race tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, Sainz now starting what will be his last fast lap here. So absolutely crucial that he cannot mess this up. He comes around turn 3 here and looks to be all right so far. Let's see what his times are. Looking at the board here, I don't think he's going to go quicker in this first sector.
I do see, though, Piastri setting the timing boards alight as he does go now fastest overall with a 1:19.392. He goes faster than Albon, faster than Russell, and faster than Max Verstappen.
I'll tell you something, that McLaren is beautiful to watch, but I'm very much worried about these Ferraris. Sainz is now coming around in sector 2. He's already down in sector 1 in Hamilton's time, which is the time to beat to get out of the relegation zone. I don't think Sainz is making it out. I don't think either Ferrari are making it out. Leclerc, though, having said that, has set a purple sector in sector 1. So Sainz is going to maybe have to give up on this lap and just go one more time. He's going to have to get round to the end there, give up and start again. He's got one attempt.
Yeah, he's got one attempt. I can see a little bit of graining on the front left.
This is Leclerc's
up, though, in that first sector. What will he be able to do throughout the rest of this lap? Finally, we're seeing a purple sector for a Ferrari. What will he be able to do? F123 just saying, Oscar, get in there. I agree. Brilliant from Oscar Piastri. Leclerc's down in the middle sector on Oscar Piastri's time, but he is up on that drive at risk time. He should be able to get himself out of that bottom 5, but will he be able to challenge for that top spot?
Yeah, let's see. Sainz has now, I think, just about started his new fast lap now, so he's going to have one last attempt as it's just 20 seconds left of Q2. Here comes Leclerc across the line. Where does he move himself? He looks like he's going to do a very good time here, right up into 3rd position. Great lap there. He should be fine going into Q3. So we have not lost Leclerc, which is what Reese did predict. Let's see whether or not my drivers will make it out. Hamilton is certainly at risk there in 9th position. Let's see if he gets into Q3. Sainz still down in 15th. Will he be able to improve across the entire time here? Just looking, he's got a personal best in Sector 1 so far. Will he improve in Sector 2 and Sector 3 to get himself out?
I agree with Patrick Visser. They're saying the final lap will be crucial. It certainly will be because this track is evolving. Every single lap it's getting ever so slightly faster. So if you're the last driver out there on the track, you may very well get the best conditions. There's a massive dry line forming though. Seeing currently Nico Hülkenberg coming through the final turn 14. He exits that banked corner down the main straight. Where will he put himself? Will he get himself out of that bottom 5? He puts himself up into 10th. He's still the driver at risk. Will someone kick him out of that bottom spot? Yuki Tsunoda coming across the line now. He pushes Hülkenberg out. He puts himself into 10th. Verstappen goes even faster once again. Do we even bother at this point?
Here comes
Gasly comes across the line. He puts himself up into 9th. Hamilton is at risk though.
Alright, here comes Sainz as he finishes up his lap. He's obviously right now in the relegation zone. Will he get out? It's going to be quite close. I think he's done very well here. Sainz, yes he has.
Well done. Finally, Carlos Sainz puts himself into P8. And Norris now puts himself into P7.
Stroll very much at risk right now. Let's see. It's Logan Sargent's coming across the line. Where does he put himself? We'll wait on that time.
Not improving on his time.
No, Hamilton's not. I think Hamilton's out. And Logan Sargent just pushes Stroll out. So Stroll is out. Hamilton is out. There's the big name. We said we'd lose a big name. Hamilton is out.
That is the one I wanted to say, but I was very nervous. I kept saying I want to say him, but I don't because I don't want to discount Lewis Hamilton. But he has really been struggling here this weekend.
Oh, my word. I cannot believe it. Hamilton is out. Hamilton is out. He will start the race all the way down in 13th position. His teammate George Russell, though, up in 6th. And Stroll is also out, unfortunately.
Logan Sargent, though. Q3.
Yes, I think that's the second time now he's done that.
I think so, yes.
So not too bad. Logan Sargent's dramatically improved this season, and we're very, very happy to see so. As we're almost up to 600 viewers. Guys, keep liking the video, please. We've got almost 600 of you and only 60 likes. Just go smash that like button right now. And again, be sure to consider subscribing to the channel. We've got lots of awesome F1 and otherwise motorsports news on this channel. Reese does a live show every day, which you can go and join in and, of course, give your comments and your thoughts about what's happening in F1. Andrew saying, unlucky 13, Hammy lol. Yeah, so not a lot of people are always very sympathetic towards Hamilton.
No.
But Hamilton is out. And yeah, only just 0.08 seconds between him and the cars above him. So, I mean,
yes. Rod Shepard saying, I'm dreaming of Williams. What a finish from Logan. Brilliant at the moment. Still qualifying 3 ahead of us. So we could see him possibly getting even higher up on the grid. There are currently 530 of you watching alongside with us, but only 235 of you subscribed. So please do be sure to subscribe so we can get you in the comment section, letting us know who you support, what you thought of that qualifying 2 session, which was just absolutely incredible. Some people saying that the qualifying sessions are more exciting than the races. And I mean, I don't disagree with you on that.
Well, there's certainly a lot more action to follow in the qualifying because we do just see major names drop out regularly and you see small names like Alex Albon go and punch way above their weight in terms of the Williams car, competing with the likes of McLaren and Red Bull and even Aston Martin, Ferrari and the likes.
I mean, Knox is saying, is this real Formula 1 or are they just making it up? I promise you, this is as real as it can be. Our top 10 currently are Verstappen, Piastri, Albon, Alonso, Leclerc, Russell, Norris, Perez, Sainz, Sargent in that top 10. Absolutely brilliant. So, just carrying on, we have a few minutes left to get going until this qualifying 3 session gets underway. It's going to be quite exciting to see who takes that top spot. Currently, Verstappen looking like he is the one to have that quite comfortably, but you never know. We could get that rain system moving overhead, and it could just take things a little bit out from where we expected. Our top qualifying poll, 60% saying Verstappen would take it. Hamilton with 16%. I think all of those people will be in the corner having a bit of a cry at the moment. Lando Norris with 15% and other at 8%. Hopefully those other 8% were voting for Alex Albon because he has shown some phenomenal pace out there on track today.
Just setting up a new poll here, sorry, because of course we've just obviously finished that one. And I'm taking it off because of course Hamilton was one of our options. He's out in Q2, so certainly not an option anymore. So we're going to have Super Max. We're going to have, I'm going to laugh, I'm going to have this in for fun. Alex Albon, because why not?
Because he's very competitive here today in the wet.
And we're going to have Piastri for the
I
fun
think
of it
he's
as well.
certainly one of the ones to watch.
There we go. Other. So go and let us know in that poll now. We've just put up a new poll. It's a very odd poll. You're seeing some names that you wouldn't normally see in that top three there, but just based off Q2, Verstappen, Piastri, and Albon were the top three there. So go and vote there. Who will finish pole out of those whole lot? And of course, other is any other driver that's still in. Noting the drivers that we lost in that last session there, just to reiterate: Hülkenberg, Tsunoda, Hamilton, Gasly, and Stroll. So, on our final top 10 here, we've got both Ferraris, we've got both Williams, we've got one Aston Martin, we've got one Mercedes, we've got both Red Bulls.
I like the comment from Reaper Darko 6, Alp Goat. Yes, I agree. It's not Goat Tiffy anymore, it's Alp Goat.
Yeah, but the thing is, the Goat Tiffy was a bit of a laugh. Albon is genuinely the
He
goat.
really is. Absolutely performing phenomenally at the moment. I'm so impressed by Alex Albon. He's in a Williams, putting it up on pole position at some parts. I mean, just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
You know what I never like about these polls is people are far too realistic and they want to give the real answer. Come on, have a laugh. Let's be hopeful here. Why is nobody voting for Alex Albon? Back my boy. My boy is going to go and finish in first place. He's going to beat Verstappen. He's going to beat Piastri. He's going to beat the lot. He's going to finish at the top of the poll at the end of Q3, which will get going in just a couple of minutes.
71 likes at the moment on the video. Please do be sure to hit that like button. It does actually help us get recommended more by YouTube. And we're currently seeing that it is quite clear overhead. So hopefully that means
Soft tires?
soft tires. Let's see what happens.
Which sort of doesn't really help Alex Albon. But nonetheless, we could see that. Just watching a replay here of Lando Norris, he wasn't particularly good in that session. We are safely through, they say. And he says, oh, thank God, but that was my bad. If you wanted to take a big risk, I reckon you could try a slick, to be honest with you. And say, he says so. I'm interested that they said he was safely through because he was only got out right in the
made a
end
mistake
there.
on his last hot lap. So I think we could see those slicks being put on now in this next session. We'll have to wait and see. But it's certainly been one of the most exciting qualifyings of the season.
Yeah, very much. And we say this pretty much every qualifying.
I know.
I think so. It just shows how exciting these qualifying sessions are. I think this is certainly the one that you do want to watch. These likes are going very, very quickly, guys. Keep it going. Smash that like button. We're going to get very close to 100 as quickly as possible. And again, subscribe to the channel. And otherwise, also check the linked video chat there, the pinned comment rather, from Forever Motorsports there. Join our official Discord channel. It's the channel where we'll be sharing a whole lot of news, and otherwise you guys can chat with other like-minded people about Formula One and all the content there. We will be improving the channel a little bit, but for now it's got its basic structures there, so be sure to go and check that out as well. Reaper Dark, I've never seen that one before, says, when was the last time the Williams had both cars in Q3?
I'm busy researching it for you now, Reaper, so I will try and get a stat for you, whether that is even available to buy.
So tell you what, that's exactly what you need to know. It's been that long. I mean, unbelievable work there from both Williams drivers. Sargent, I don't think will match up too well though in this final session, especially if you're coming out on the soft tires. But you know what? Fair play to him. He's in the top 10, which is fantastic for Williams. As we do have the start of Q3, but notably, nobody is making their way out except for one car. Is he on softs? Let's see. Hang on, a couple of cars now making their way down the pit lane. What tires are they running? I think a lot of teams are just maybe waiting to see, is it dry enough for those soft tires? The sun is definitely shining here in Zandvoort. No rain. Looks like it's going to be
I
coming.
think the worst double Q3 was 2008.
2008 was the last time.
2009. I don't know if that's an actual stat, but that's the top news article coming up for me. That says 23rd May 2009. Both cars in Q3 for Williams.
Boom, boom, boom. We've got Piastri and Perez made their way out on intermediate tyres, though Albon, Russell, Sainz and Sargent have made their way out on the soft tyre compound. Let's see how it fares. I think we might see somebody on the wall if they happen to hit a little bit of a wet patch there. We can see still a lot of wet on the track, though there is a very wide dry line. So if as long as they stay inside that line, they'll be fine. But just note, you see some of these parts here as Russell's going through. Just still a little bit wet there, so quite dangerous if these on these soft tires. You have to be very, very careful.
Yes, you certainly have to be very, very careful with your throttle pickup. That is when you are most likely to lose it. Max Verstappen decides, nah, I'd rather wait for it to dry out a little bit more. He goes out on a set of intermediates. It might be the safer call for now, but George Russell has decided to take the gamble.
Well, not just George Russell. There's 6 cars.
Yeah,
five cars.
Albon, Alonso, Russell, Sainz, and Sargent have all taken the gamble, waiting to see what Lando Norris decides to do. He's still in the pits at the moment. George Russell ramping up to start his first hot lap on a set of softs.
Yeah, and you see Piastri's immediately come back into the pits, so he does not back the intermediate tyre. He thinks it's definitely for the soft tyres. So I think we'll see everybody on softs very, very soon. And I think Verstappen will probably need to come back into the pits ASAP, because I'm sure if somebody gets a soft tyre running, it will probably be the best tyre.
Yes, seeing now the McLarens changing Oscar Piastri onto a set of softs. George Russell coming through turn 3 now, looking very neat and tidy through there, looking quite hooked up. Much better than looking on a set of intermediates. So what will he be able to do throughout the rest of the session? He should have some great pace on a set of softs, sorry, I should say.
Yeah, of course, he will be setting purple sectors as he goes round, as he's the first driver to go around, but I think all eyes will actually be on Albon.
Albon's the first driver to go around.
No, it's not. Albon's just stolen the first purple sector from Russell, so...
Sorry, I see they are behind each other on track.
Very, very interesting here, as Russell's already gone slower than Albon. Albon's still motoring. And, yeah, let's see what happens here. I think Verstappen on the radio just saying he needs to come back in for those soft tyres, as everybody's on the soft tyre now, and you can see those soft tyres times significantly improving upon those intermediate tyres we saw earlier in the session.
Verstappen does come into the pits, as you say that. So, good call there. Alex Albon. I'm so impressed. He's going faster than George Russell in a Mercedes. What is going on?
It's brilliant to watch. It's absolutely brilliant to watch. Come on, Alex Albon. Go and win it for us. Go and win it.
George Russell finishes his qualifying lap. He puts himself in provisional pole for now with a 1:15.7. But we have Alex Albon coming up close behind. Sorry, that time from him was a 1:18.2. Albon crosses the line though and goes fastest now with a 1:15.743.
And Logan Sargent, his teammate, also comes across the line in almost a very, very quick time as well. Just a second down on his teammate, a 1:16.7. Still quicker than Sainz and still quicker than Russell.
Yellow flag.
We have a yellow flag.
Sargent is off the track.
I think he's coming back on though, maybe. Or is it a red flag? Let's see. Red flag has been called.
Damn it.
Oh my word. No, this could work. Because Sargent has put himself there. Oh my word.
That is a massive cut. That car is completely destroyed. The entire front wing is gone. His front right tyre is broken. He does seem to be moving around in the car though, so hopefully he's alright. But he's taken way too many risks here.
I'm confused. He just finished a fast lap. Why is he spinning out?
He says he's okay. Glad to hear that. Very interesting sector where he's gone off though.
What on earth happened there?
I think he may have just caught a slight bit of wet patch. That is so disappointing for Logan Sargent though.
So of course the time has stopped with this red flag with 8 minutes and 13 seconds left. Sargent is out of this session. Very disappointing. He just finished a very good lap there.
Hopefully he won't need a new gearbox because that does look like a high energy impact there for Logan Sargent. Not great for the Williams output. One of their drivers in pole. There's one other driver in second, but he's now on the barriers as well.
Now, very, very disappointing as we have hit those 600 viewers, so very grateful to have all of you here. Again, consider subscribing. Subscribe to the channel. It's a motorsports community like no other. And let's keep those likes going, guys. We're so close to 100. Come on, you're 14 likes away. It needs 14 of you. Wait, 13 of you. Wait, now you're going to click it. Now it's 12. You see, that's how easy it is. So let's keep going here. Red flag, the medic car is already there collecting Logan Sargent. That car will be removed by the recovery vehicles very shortly. I just want to wait for a replay here to see what exactly happened.
Greetings from New York, it says World Famous Foods. Thank you very much for commenting and being subscribed to the channel. If you want to comment in our comment section, please do be sure to hit that subscribe button. We have 250 of you on our channel at the moment. Ooh, just watching a replay, that was a high energy impact for Logan Sargent. Glad that he's alright.
It should be fine though.
It should be fine. He hit the front first. But yeah, not great for him there. Putting himself up in second and then losing the car.
Yeah, I just want to note something very interesting there from his race engineers, which shows the big difference between him, the race engineers, and him and what we saw with Ricardo and McLaren last year. Is immediately he had an accident and they've asked, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" Basically making sure the driver's all right. He says it's okay. It's quite a contrast, of course, to Ricardo last year when he had that big shunt. I think it was in Canada, wasn't it, or somewhere? Can't quite remember. But where he had that big shunt, and they said, "Is the car okay? Not that we care much about you." So
I think it just kind of shows the atmosphere and the environment that he was having to put up with in McLaren. Of course, they seem to be doing quite well now with their two younger drivers, Norris and Oscar Piastri. But we don't want to see drivers getting hurt, and when they do get hurt, we don't give two shits about the car, to be very honest.
I'm
We
really-
care more about the human inside.
I mean, I really, really do feel sorry for Sargent there because he just put in a really good lap and the Williams were performing so well. He did so well to get into Q3. And as I can't remember, it was Reaper was asking when was the last time two Williams were in Q3. Reese went and tried to find. It's not an official stat. We don't know if this is true, but we seem to find only in 2009, which is ages ago, of course, 14 years ago, that was the last time we reckon that might have happened. So he did so well and then put in a very good lap time, beating both Sainz and Russell in the first attempt. But then, unfortunately, spinning out as he finishes his lap and gone into the wall. He's broken his front left. He's definitely broken the rear of the car as well. It's a bit of a bad accident there. He's okay, though, luckily. But the car is now being recovered. You can just see that right tyre just hanging at the front of the car. We will get going with the session again. Just 8 minutes and 13 seconds left still.
Yes, so we have two Williams in Q3. Unfortunately, one of those Williams is now done for the day because his car is in pieces. He will be doing the walk of shame back to his garage. Luckily, the time does get stopped, though, when we have a red flag in qualifying. So we do have 8 minutes and 13 seconds left on the clock. Just watching a Mexican wave going through the Dutch fans at the moment. Max Verstappen still leading that poll at the moment with 57% saying he will take pole at the end of this Q3 session.
Now, F123 saying, when was their last front row lockout? I don't think Williams have ever.
They definitely
they probably have. Yeah, the dominant stages probably. But even then, it was a lot more competitive, of course, Formula 1 back in those days. Just a whole lot of comments coming in. Tracer Gaming saying, greetings from India. Great to have you here. Reaper saying, poor Logan indeed. McLaren deserves pole, according to Tracer. They certainly asked the question a lot. I'm not sure anybody deserves pole. I certainly think a lot of people can get pole. And I'm very keen to see what happens here. Lando Norris's tyres are getting put onto the car, getting ready for the session to resume. So we should be very close. I'm sure we'll get notified of when the session will resume. Guys, we're 4 likes away from 100 likes. Hit that like button right now. Right now. Hit it right now. And also subscribe to the channel. We're very, very close to seeing what happens for the rest of the session here. Now, Verstappen, of course, came out on the intermediate tyres and then we immediately backed into the pits for the soft tyre. Just seeing here the problems with backing a soft tyre in semi-wet conditions. You can just see Logan Sargent here loses it, just hits a little bit of a wet patch.
He touches the white line.
You see.
I think that's it. Unfortunately, with a tiny little bit of water still around on track, if you do touch those white lines, they are so slippery and they can cause a massive incident like this.
Magic Clown saying, I hope Oscar gets pole. Well, I think a lot of us are sort of hoping for that. And there you go, guys. We have hit 100 likes. Thank you so much for doing that. And now that you guys have done that, subscribe to the channel.
Hey, someone unlike it. Like it again. It was on 102 and now it's back on 101. Come on, just hit that like button.
Indeed, guys. Thank you so much for watching, though, guys. We really do appreciate it. And I'm hoping you guys are enjoying the stream. And let us know in the comments what you guys would like to see in the future as well. We're very open to ideas and otherwise. But join Reese during the week for all of his live shows and for all the live breaking news stories as well. Reese is doing this full time. This is his job. So support him in doing so. And come and participate in the community. Also, we've got our Discord now open. Go join the Discord and we can have some chats there as well. And you can chat directly with us more or less in text over the week.
Just watching this replay from Logan Sargent, I can only imagine that it was quite a sore impact when you got hit into those barriers. But at least he has not hurt his hands like Daniel Ricciardo did yesterday. Still super upset for Daniel that he was not able to race this weekend because he broke his metacarpal in his left hand yesterday in free practice 2, avoiding an incident with Oscar Piastri.
Indeed. And Abhinav just asking, I'm hoping I said that right, saying, where are all the subs gone, guys? Well, just so you guys are aware, we have come from a Forever Sports channel. So we are a Forever Sports subsidiary channel. We normally do our streams on the Forever Sports channel, which has got many thousands of subscribers.
We have 40 now.
Yeah, almost 40,000 subscribers. We have now gone on to a dedicated Formula 1 channel, which we're trying to grow as quickly as possible. So be sure to go and share it with all the original guys that were on the other channel. So if you guys were wondering if this is like a good channel to be supporting of, well, we were 40,000 subs on the other one. We're trying to change across to this for some more dedicated content so that you guys don't see other sports that you don't want to see. So please subscribe and share with your friends so that we can keep it going and get it back up to that sort of state again.
Patrick Fisser asking which corner did Logan Sargent lose it. He lost it in the second turn, unfortunately. So if you look on that track map, it does the big loop and then it kind of kinks a bit to the left and that's where he lost it. So just where it starts to kink again to the right for that second turn, that's, really where he lost the car, unfortunately. Yeah, but his car has now been recovered. We should get a green flag, hopefully quite soon again, for this qualifying 3 session.
Yeah, indeed. And Prem just saying nice commentary and celebrating it. Thank you
you.
very much. And I've been able to say, oh, nice. Love the work, guys. Keep at it. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate the messages of support. So if you guys do enjoy it, please let us know as well. And again, please do share it with as many people as possible. Let's try and get this community back up to where it should be. We've had more than 100,000 view streams multiple times. So please, we want to try and get back up there as quickly as possible. And the only way we can do that is by getting all of you guys to subscribe and share with your friends and like the video. Seeing Jeffrey here comment just saying, hi from London. I would like to know when was the last time 3 Brits were in the top 3 at the end of the year. Also, do you think we should bring back refueling? Well, I can tell you right now,
refueling.
I love the concept of refueling. You'll never see it come back because of how dangerous it is. We saw many, many bad incidents in Formula 1 with refueling and being left in the car and sparking fuel in the pit lane. They don't like it anymore. So we're definitely not going to see refueling, especially as we're moving to eco-fuels as well. Which is, of course, we don't want to see more fuel being used, essentially. So
yes. Well, and then also asking about that stat. Unfortunately, I'm not a stat machine, so I don't really know about those stats. I can try and Google it, but it will take some time and I won't be able to focus on the commentary. Some more comments coming in here now. F1 is very unkind to Ferrari fans. I disagree. I think Ferrari is unkind to Ferrari fans. They've had so much opportunities to score points, and they've just really not been able to do all that well. Are you trying to decide if you want my water?
Well, I was just looking at it. Yes, I was just looking at like there's definitely something else in here. So
no, I have washed it. It is just water.
Yes, indeed. As we said, Lewis Hamilton out in Q2. Major name. We said we'd lose a major name in Q2, and right we were. Just not the ones we were thinking. Looking here, only 4 people have set times, of course. Piastri, Alonso, Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris, and Perez still.
Sorry, do you want to try that name again?
Perez still yet to put times in here. As we still have a red flag, 8 minutes and 13 seconds remaining in Q3. We still do not have a tentative time as to when we will restart the session. I'm sure we'll get
They're busy working on fixing the barriers at the moment, so it could take a few more minutes. Those Tech Pro barriers do kind of come apart when a car goes into them. That is their design, of course, to dissipate all of the energy that gets put into a barrier from a crash. Instead of it going straight into the driver's body, it gets put into the barrier rather. Magic Clown saying Ferrari has skill issues, yes. And then Taya just laughing at my comment there about Ferrari being unkind to their own fans. VV Larkin saying, why can't you show the actual cars? Because it is illegal. It is all copyrighted by the Formula 1 group. They will take our stream down and we will not be able to use this channel pretty much ever again.
But you know what's very unique about our channel versus watching the streams live is the fact that we can engage with you guys. You can ask us questions and we'll try and read them as we see them. Sometimes we do get a bit overloaded with them. And again, if ever that should happen, you can just send us a super chat. We can't get super chats quite just yet because this channel is no longer monetized like the other one. But otherwise, be sure to comment and ask us questions. We're very happy to answer them as we see them, if we should see them, of course. And if they're appropriate to answer, because some of you are weird.
Yes, still waiting for a green light time to be released by the FIA. I am going to go and show now, going to go and look now on my Twitter to see whether the FIA documents bot has released the document just yet. Some people asking why there's a red flag. It is because Logie Sargent has put it into the wall.
Logan Sargent has put himself in the wall. No, but shame. He was doing very well so far today. I was really impressed with him. His teammate Alex Albon, even more impressive though. Yeah, that's why it's one of the options for the poll as to who could potentially finish on pole. Just seeing a Dutch flag there, very big Dutch flag on the beach. So many people, of course, coming out to support their number 1 man, Max Verstappen, here in Zandvoort for 2023. Max Verstappen could go and equal Vettel's record, race win record this weekend at home, which is quite special. So will he be able to do it? Most likely, unless something major should happen tomorrow in the race.
Yes, hopefully he will be able to equal that record. I mean, as Michael Schumacher said, records are meant to be broken. But I'm sure all of these Dutch fans will be rooting for their home champion to take that win and equal that record tomorrow afternoon. Whether he'll be able to do that, we'll have to wait and see. It looks like the Williams mechanics are getting ready to release these drivers.
Not really.
No, he's standing there getting ready to release them, but we still do not have a T0 time for when the session can get underway again. Patrick Fisser has asked, are they almost ready clearing the track? We haven't seen those cars where they were earlier working on those barriers, but hopefully they will be able to get underway very soon. That beep means that it is, I think, the end of load shedding here at our house.
I think it's the start of load shedding, but nonetheless, we don't lose it. We've got all those things preliminarily done. Rennie was asking a question that says, will Verstappen what?
Get on pole.
Get on pole, change the fate for him winning the Grand... Oh, not getting on pole.
Oh.
Well, okay, sorry. Second language, just not quite understanding. Sorry, I've got your question now. Basically, what you're saying is, will Verstappen not getting pole position change his fate for winning the Grand Prix tomorrow? No. Very simple. No. Race Control has just announced that there's a delay due to barrier repairs. So they're still trying to repair the barriers. At least they're letting us know that there's no estimated time just quite yet. Max Verstappen's been inside this car the entire time. So he must be quite tired and then just getting a bit bored.
Not really. Those cars are so comfortable. We've often seen drivers falling asleep in their seats.
That's why I say he must be tired. Because he must be just feeling very drowsy going,
I don't think you can get tired at your home track. I think the atmosphere there is just absolutely electric. Still seeing a lot of this work going on those Tech Pro barriers. There's a lot of work going on this inside of those. Possibly just taking quite a lot of damage. It is an exposed section of the track. Because you can get released by the turn before that. So they do want to get those barriers repaired correctly. And hopefully it should not take longer than about another 5 to 10 minutes, hopefully.
Yeah, for everyone at home and for me and Reese, of course, we'd like to see it hurry up because it's getting a little bit late on in the day. It's still
Lando Norris is having a sleep in his car. He has fallen asleep. I did tell you those drivers do get so comfortable in those cars they sleep. Lando Norris is proving me correctly, and he is fast asleep in his car. And me shouting will do absolutely nothing to wake him up.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally that right now. Lando Norris is fast asleep. Or maybe his eyes are fluttering a little bit. Maybe he's just closing his eyes for relaxation. But nonetheless, I'm sure he's very comfy in his car. And Alonso is busy sipping on lots of water, getting all his hydration in. Probably shouldn't be sipping on water because, of course, it adds a little bit of weight.
That bottle normally sits in the car either ways. He's going to sweat it off in the next few minutes either way. So, yeah, nonetheless, he should be fine there, drinking his bottle of water, just getting ready to go for this qualifying session.
I was just being funny, Just being funny with regards to the fact that, they're so precise, Formula One, and all the teams about anything and everything, including weight, literally grams of weight. So you're having a little bit more water in the system. The engineers will be saying, oh, you're making the car slower. So, yes. People just saying, don't think anybody other than Verstappen will win unless someone pulls off a Lewis Hamilton. Magic Count just saying, this is the rare chance that I hope Max wins just to see how far the win streak goes. Well, I think it's exactly that, yeah. I think people are very intrigued to see how long it can go on for because, quite frankly, I can't see a reason why he can't go on to win every single race for the remainder of this year, provided no major accidents or otherwise happens.
Yes, and, I mean, the rest of the other drivers have been saying exactly the same thing. Lewis Hamilton said, I don't think we'll see anyone else taking a race win this season. We do see those barrier repairs are finished now. They're walking away from those. We should get a T0 very shortly. Thank goodness.
I think maybe by 10 past, we'll see those cars come back in. Those barriers are definitely repaired. They're all happy with them. So I think maybe they'll say...
let's wait for these cars to get off the track and then we should be able to get running. Yet again, for qualifying 3, it should be a very exciting end to qualifying here this afternoon. Peter Van Breda saying, let it rain, let it rain. I agree, it makes things very exciting. We don't want to see a dry end to qualifying because Quali 2 and Quali 1 were so exciting in the wet.
And Liam Lawson are getting interviewed about his first qualifying session. I'm not quite sure what they could ask him. How was qualifying? Well, it was garbage. I came last. So there you go. We have got confirmation. Race Control has said Q3 will resume at 11 past 4 local time. So in just
time for this
3 minutes time, we will get going. So we're so close to getting resumption of Q3. Resumption of Q3. I do apologize. I'm stumbling over my words a little bit. You know what I need? Some more Forever Sports water.
I thought you didn't like it because it tastes like coffee.
It does, but it's fine. It's water.
So just waiting now for the session to get underway. Liam Lawson, he should be all right with his day. I mean, he only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's only 6 places behind Yuki Tsunoda, who knows that car very well. And of course, he only got put into that car this morning.
Yeah, I mean, literally, last night got the call and saying, hey, we need you for tomorrow. And this weekend is going, oh. So Liam Lawson will, of course, be taking over for a couple of races. Vincent just saying, great energy, guys. Well done. Well, thank you very much, Vincent. Very much appreciated. Just reading Akshay's comment there. Can't quite understand. We need Guy. I don't know.
Either way. We have 2 minutes left to go until we get underway yet again. Oh, he's saying we need Go TV back in Formula 1. I think
Yes.
we're fine. We've got
No.
we've got Sargent, we've got Hulkenberg, we've got Magnussen.
Not the same excitement as Latifi. Latifi was brilliant in making a race interesting. Max Verstappen would certainly not have this win record if Latifi was there. He probably would have taken him out under blue flag conditions.
No, that's what Ocon's for.
True. But Latifi was better at it, let's be honest. Yeah, we miss Latifi, we really do. But oh well, we've got a couple of people who are trying to fight for his position. Even Lance Stroll these days making a little bit of a havoc, a menace of himself, rather, in terms of, especially in qualifying and not getting out of the way of cars. Very close to coming to blows with some of them. So all of the cars are now lined up in the pit lane as we're just under a minute left until we will resume Q3. Of course, it'll be 8 minutes and 13 seconds that we'll resume from. And let us know in the comments who you're backing to top qualifying. And if it's not Max Verstappen, if it is Max Verstappen, who do you reckon will come second?
Yes, and who do you think will have another crash in this qualifying 3 session? There's still 8 minutes, plenty of time for someone else to have a crash, especially with these interchanging conditions between wet and dry. Everyone has decided to go out on a set of full dry tyres now, and yeah, it could be very interesting seeing what happens in the remainder of this qualifying 3 session. Under a minute left to go. We have 260 of you subscribed to this channel, and we have 500 of you watching. Please do be sure to subscribe so you can catch all the latest Formula 1 news and content from me and Mark. I was going to say me, myself, and I, but Mark does also make an appearance every now and then.
Hi. Yes, please do subscribe. Please. We really want to get a good community going here. I'm stumbling on my words so much right now. I think it's because I'm waiting so long for the session to resume, as it has finally, I think, got the green light. So I think we have finally resumed, have we? Let's see. Are the cars going? Green light. There we go. So we are finally resumed in this session. So yeah, please do subscribe to the channel, guys. It really means a lot, and I think you guys will be better for it as well. Lots of news will come your way, all the things you want to see.
Renew Tag is saying, I think Mercedes are going to ask George to do something to Red Bull. You can guess it easily. That maybe puts Merc on the podium. If they did that, I think they'd be DQ'd from an entire season.
Not quite an entire season, but it certainly would be a race.
For purposely taking out another car, I think you should deserve to have your team DQ'd from an entire season.
Yeah, maybe he'll just go and say the actions of mine alone, and you got paid many monies to do so. So we've got our cars coming out. Of course, Max Verstappen now leaves the pits. Let's see what he can do. Logan Sargent, of course, out of the session now. He was the one who caused the red flag. A long stoppage here. Very disappointing, unfortunately. He did manage to finish a lap. He got himself a time of 1:16.7. Though this track is a lot drier now, we're going to see these times much closer to the 1:12s and 1:11s, I reckon.
Interesting to see here. Verstappen has taken the last 2 poles here, and then his father-in-law, well, future father-in-law, has taken 2 himself. So Max Verstappen could beat his father-in-law's amount of qualifying wins here in Zandvoort. That's certainly something he can go back home and tell Nelson Piquet, hey, I've got more qualifying pole positions than you in Zandvoort.
So yeah, indeed, that's exactly that. I think it's quite a fun thing he can go and bring back to the family. Just reading some comments, Reaper saying Albon P2. I think that could be quite a hell of a shout. Train's just saying let's go Lando, Norris or Piastri in second. And Barrett saying too much water and not enough Ricciardo.
I agree. Really sad we don't have Ricciardo here this race weekend. Of course, we lost him yesterday to a broken broken metacarpal on his left hand due to a crash when avoiding Latifi, because you've been talking about Latifi the whole time. Come on, Mark.
Piastri.
Because Piastri unfortunately lost it in turn 3, and then Daniel Ricciardo put it into the wall to avoid hitting Piastri's car.
So,
Sainz is up in the first sector at the moment. 0.8 up on Max Verstappen's fastest time. Albon's fastest time. Let's see what they're able to do throughout the remainder of this track. This qualifying 3 session, yes.
Just 6 minutes left, of course. Alex Albon has now set that new purple sector in sector 1, so he's started back from Sainz already. So Albon continuing left, although now Norris has taken that purple sector away from Albon as well. So it's going to be very interesting here. Albon, I'm still backing to be right up there amongst the top 4, I reckon.
Van Kalra saying we want them in India again. Yes, I completely agree. The Indian Grand Prix was quite exciting and quite sad that we lost it from the Grand Prix calendar. It would be great to have Formula 1 back in India again. But do you know where we really need them? Tell me, Mark, where we really need Formula 1 to come back to.
Down the road.
Just literally about 2 kilometers away from where we are right now in Kyalami. That would be the absolute ideal situation to have them back in Formula 1.
And the worst part is they were supposed to be. Everything was gearing towards South Africa getting their Grand Prix back. But then, unfortunately, people wanting more money and things has stopped that. Russell now goes to the top of the tables here. A 112. I told you we could get to the 112s, 111s. 112.5. Leclerc goes second fastest, so 112.66. And here comes
Lando Norris, 112.049. Half a second faster than George Russell's time. Piastri matches his teammate just 0.2 seconds slower than his teammates at the moment. But Verstappen is coming through the final sector.
I don't think he's going to go faster. I think he's going to go slower than both McLarens here. He goes across. He is still slower than both McLarens. These McLarens have been so quick this weekend.
This is great to see, though. Could Max Verstappen be denied pole? Fernando Alonso is up in the first sector. What will he be able to do throughout the rest of his lap? There's a yellow flag, though. I see a yellow flag on our screens.
No, it's Leclerc. It's Leclerc. It's Leclerc. Is Leclerc in the wall? I think Leclerc's in the wall. Oh, dear. Oh, my word. We've got another red flag.
I think he's got an engine issue. Come on, Leclerc.
Oh, no.
Why, Ferrari? Red flag. I just want to go have dinner.
I know, at this point, I'm starving. I want food. And now Leclerc has just caused another red flag. And he's hit the wall. His back left is very much damaged.
That's a broken gearbox. That's his 5th gearbox for the season, then.
Man, what is with Ferrari? They are so garbage. Honestly, find a new team. Find a new team, people. If you're a Ferrari fan, find a new team.
Or just go cry in the corner, like we all do.
No, you're doing that anyway. Just find a new team. You'll still be crying.
Just watching this moment here, he goes so wide, and that's a massive shunt, to be very honest. That's not a Tech Pro barrier. He's going to be hurting from that.
I cannot believe this. I'm just astounded that yet again Ferrari are in the wall. Oh my word! What happens there?
He got a snap of understeer, tried to correct it, and he ended up in the back.
Oh, he was angry there. Did you see him throw his hand forward there? Very angry.
Ferrari has been difficult, though, the entire weekend. Even Robert Schwartzman, when he was in it in FP1, he was really complaining about the snaps that you get. Magic Clown saying there should only be 1 Grand Prix per country on the calendar, unlike USA with 3 Grand Prix. This would allow more goated tracks to come back. I certainly agree with that.
Bring back Kyle Army. I mean, Kyle Army's an awesome racetrack.
I think Leclerc's sore, hey? Leclerc looks very, very much in pain. I think not only mental pain, but also physical pain at the moment, because that did look like a quite high energy impact.
Yeah, I mean, really, I cannot believe it. 4 minutes left. 4 minutes, of course, will be left when we resume yet again. F123 saying, I'm going to watch a movie. I'll be back once the movie goes.
I don't think it's going to take too long, so don't go anywhere, because luckily he didn't cause any damage to the barriers. They should just be able to drag that stupid Ferrari out the way and get the session back underway. I say stupid because I'm very frustrated with that.
I think Tia is getting very upset with me in the comments because I'm saying that Ferrari fans need to find a new team. Indeed, Ferrari fans getting very, very, very passionate about this. But quite frankly, you can take it outside because that's pretty much where Ferrari are always, outside the track. Never in
outside the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, dear. Really, really shocking from Ferrari at the moment.
Renu says Leclerc is clearly in love with the walls. This is clearly a better love story than him and Max Verstappen.
Yeah, Ferrari did a Ferrari thing. I do agree. Very much so. Red flag session here. Sainz is in his car being wheeled back into the pits.
Ferrari, why are you doing this? I'm hungry. I want to go have a beer and just have dinner. Leave me alone now. Just, can we get the session over and done with? It was ramping up to be a very exciting end to the session. Now we have to wait again for the session to get resumed.
Boring this right now. Let's go.
Come on. Let's get this session over and done with. We're just waiting for this session to get resumed again. Hopefully that they should not take too long for that car to be recovered. F123 saying heaps of memes are going to come out of this weekend. Of course they are. Jeffrey saying we should have a format like British Touring Car Championships format. Lando is in the top 3. Yes, he is currently in the top 3. Great to see from Lando Norris. Watching another replay of Leclerc's moments. He looks quite neat and tidy though as he approaches there. Then just hits the apex a little bit. I mean, he hits the apex fine. Gets a massive hand of understeer. Isn't able to keep himself on track and just goes into the wall. Very, very weird characteristics and weird behavior from that Ferrari.
I mean, I'm sorry. I can't harp on about it more because we need to move on. Yeah, Peter's just saying Kaya long.
3 minutes. Sorry, 3 minutes until we get the session resumed.
Finally, thank goodness. But yeah, I mean, I just can't believe Ferrari. I mean, can they ever have a weekend without problems? It just doesn't seem possible.
They just want to make us all cry, to be honest.
Christian Horner, just rename Red Bull to Ferrari, and then you'll see a good Ferrari team, I tell you. But yes. Reese, apparently we'll send you some food.
Please,
yeah, well,
I'll happily take it.
our address is
No, don't do that.
of course wouldn't do that, but yes. So Ferrari deserves better. Indeed, I think they do deserve better, but really, they're just their own problems at this moment. So McLarens are both right on top. Norris and Piastri both ahead of Verstappen at this point in time. Norris 0.3 seconds ahead of Verstappen, whereas Piastri only 0.1 seconds ahead of that Red Bull. So the McLarens have been doing fantastically all weekend. Will they finish on top yet?
Well, Luna is going to be happy if they do, because she or he is switching back to McLaren because they give up on Ferrari, which I think a lot of people are doing now, because their last world championship was in 2007.
Yeah, it's quite ridiculous. 2007.
2007 with
16 years. No, it was not later. No, it was Raikkonen.
Yeah.
16 years ago.
Can we all just go cry now? What is the point in watching the rest of this qualifying session?
And Vettel came close in
He
the Ferrari
did
seat.
come
He came close, but
they made bad strategy calls for him. Actually, saying at this point, crying through the weekend has become a routine for Ferrari fans, me included. Yes, you're going to be losing a lot of weight though from all the crying. You might be a bit dehydrated.
I said, make sure you have a water bottle
Yes.
on you.
Ren, you saying can Albon and McLaren be a pain in the ass for Verstappen tomorrow?
Yes.
I think so. I think it could make some great racing for us though.
Especially.
But we might just get Verstappen once again running away.
Especially if we have both McLarens ahead of him. If both McLarens start on the front of the grid, I think Verstappen will probably struggle to get past the two of them if they just play the strategy correctly. I don't doubt Verstappen will still go on to win, but they'll make it a bit more difficult for him.
Yeah, Jeffrey just saying sack him. I'm assuming that is with regards to Charles Leclerc. The session has now been resumed. We have the Red Bulls leaving the pit boxes. Is the other Ferrari going to make us cry too? May as well. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, Sainz could well put himself in the wall as well. Maybe we'll see somebody else in the wall. Yeah, I don't know. But at least we've got only 3 minutes and 35 seconds. We really are counting this down. I mean, it's been a very exciting session up till now, and then we've had these 2 red flags, which has really slowed us down.
At this point, I'm excited to just go and cry.
Let's go. Let's get those cars round. If you're not quick enough, oh well. Let's go and see who's going to finish on pole, guys.
Will Norris and Piastri be able to stay ahead of Max Verstappen at the moment? They have a 0.3 second gap from Verstappen to Norris, who's in provisional pole. Will Norris be able to hold on to that top spot, though? We will be able to tell in the next 3 minutes and 8 seconds. Lando Norris holding on to that top spot, but will he have done enough with that 1 minute and 12 second 0.049?
I really enjoy that comment from F123. I am stupid. I am stupid. Yes, indeed, Charles Leclerc, you are stupid at this point in time. Sorry, you're not saying you are, but like, he's in the wall again. Yeah. So we've got Max Verstappen getting ready to come out onto the track. We've got just 3 cars out there. Max Verstappen now leaving the pits. He'll be the 4th. So I think they're going to basically try and do only 1 lap, it seems like, for most of these guys, because they're only coming out with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. So pretty much as lastminute.com as possible.
Trying to get the best track condition, of course. It is drying out by the second, as well as being rubbered up very quickly by everyone else going around on track. Perez starting his next hot lap. Verstappen leaves the pits though.
Yeah, as I said, let's see what happens here with these laps. Let's follow on board now. I think Perez is starting his hot lap, as Reece says. So let's see how he fares. Will he get a first sector that is purple? He's coming around turn 3 right now, and let's see where he ends up. Leclerc has found himself a camping chair and is deciding to watch the remainder of the session from the grass banks with some of the
he is channeling his inner Fernando Alonso there. But to be honest, he deserves to say that.
That is meme-worthy.
But yeah, it is going to be meme-worthy, as I think Joffrey or someone else said a little bit earlier. Yeah.
Telling you right now, there's going to be a caption. It's going to have Charles Leclerc there. There's going to be Charles Leclerc watching Red Bull.
No, it's going to be Ferrari versus Red Bull. Red Bull's on track, Ferrari's in the seat.
Yeah, literally watching.
Perez has already abandoned his hot lap by the looks of things. He was way too slow in Sector 1. maybe trying to do a double warm-up lap for his tires and just get a little bit more of that fuel out of the car before he does attempt to do his hot lap.
Yeah, so we're only going to have one lap attempt from everybody, as I think it is Max Verstappen about to start his hot lap. Here he goes, DRS wide open. This will be the final and only lap for Max Verstappen and for everybody. So we're going to come right down to the wire here in the session Q3. So do not go anywhere.
Brilliant traction though through turn 1. The change of direction in this Red Bull is just absolutely incredible. Coming through turn 3, turn 2, where Logan Sargent lost it. Now through turn 3, where Oscar Piastri and Daniel Ricciardo lost it yesterday. Let's see what he can do throughout the rest of this lap. Coming towards that first sector marker. How fast will he be through this first sector? He has a 24 to beat, and he is up on that time at the moment. Quite high up, 0.7 up on Lando Norris's fastest time right now.
I will say this
be
though.
Able to match him?
I will say this though. Norris has now taken that first sector away from Verstappen. Norris is on track to go on pole if he should finish off the rest of this track, the rest of this attempt. Very well here. Verstappen still going very well. I think he's going to purple the middle sector, but can Norris improve upon that? Piastri right on the hot heels of Verstappen as well.
Verstappen up a second at the moment on Lando Norris's previous time, but Lando Norris is currently on a flying lap. Max Verstappen is normally a lot faster in the second and third sector. Will he be able to get a good enough lap time in to be able to match that fastest lap? Lando Norris not improving on his middle sector. Max Verstappen now coming across the line, and he does take pole position. A provisional pole for now with a 110.
I think he'll be safe.
That's brilliant.
He'll be safe. I mean, a 110 is brilliant there. 110.5. Here comes Piastri across the line.
Provisional second place for now. What will Lando Norris be able to do now? He comes across the line. He takes second place away from Oscar Piastri. We have a Verstappen, Norris, and Piastri provisional front pole. Let's see what
I want to see what Alonso can do, as Alonso's going around very, very quickly in his lap time here as well.
Perez flips the 2 McLarens. He puts himself now into third place. What will Albon be able to do? Alonso puts himself up into third, though.
So I'm saying Alonso's been brilliant. So Alonso's up into third place. And what's Alex Albon going to do?
Albon! We have a Williams on the second row for the Dutch Grand Prix. Sainz now comes across the line. He only finishes in 5th.
I mean, brilliant, brilliant end there. Russell's still going round, I think. Let's see where Russell goes. He moves into third.
He takes away Alex
Albon's still in the second.
Still brilliant, though, for Alex Albon in a Williams to be on the second row in qualifying.
Very unlucky for Piastri there, who's actually dropped all the way down to 8th as a result. So Logan Sargent, I don't think, decided to go and even attempt it. So Logan Sargent sits in 10th, Leclerc 9, Piastri only in 8th, Perez 7, Sainz 6, Alonso 5, Albon 4th. Russell 3rd, Norris in 2nd, and Verstappen, of course, at the
What
top.
a qualifying session that was today. Our top 6. It's all completely different constructors.
Fantastic.
That is absolutely
brilliant.
phenomenal to see. We have Max Verstappen in the Red Bull on provisional pole, pole now. Lando Norris in the McLaren in 2nd. Then we have Russell 3rd, Albon 4th, Alonso 5th, Sainz 6th, Perez 7th, Piastri 8th, and then the 2 DNFs that we don't really care about, Logan Sargent and Leclerc.
Yeah, indeed. And so our channel, our poll was very accurate in terms of who we were watching, not necessarily for Piastri, but Norris, who finished up 2nd there. Max did, however, win that poll, and he did indeed get onto pole for tomorrow with 51% of the vote and a 1 minute 10.5. Norris, very good though, 111.1. Great racing though from Russell, Albon, and Alonso, who are 3rd, 4th, and 5th there. So great racing, especially from Alex Albon in that Williams. Beautiful.
Smart and dummy, living up to the name, asking if Charles Leclerc is out. He is, because I assume you're a Ferrari fan. That's maybe why you have that username. Yeah,
Shame.
he unfortunately crashed out. I'm sorry, I'm being really nasty to the Ferrari fans there. I'm a Ferrari fan myself, but yes, disappointing is the verdict for Ferrari this afternoon.
Indeed. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right now for more news and otherwise articles and streams. Of course, we will be doing the Formula 1 tomorrow as well. So hit that subscribe button right now. And from me, myself, and Mark, and from Reese himself and everything else, he's been Reese. We will see you again tomorrow and very soon. Thank you so much for joining us. Cheerio.